Good evening. Welcome to the September 16th, 2024 Troy City Council meeting. This evening, we're honored to have Reverend David Rue from the Troy Hope Ministry of the Korean Methodist Church of Detroit to provide our invocation. So please rise for that invocation and then remain standing for our Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Gracious and loving God, our hearts are heavy this evening as we see the news of one of our state troopers who lost their life while serving in this state of ours. And we pray that you would be with the family and all our law enforcement officers as they mourn the loss of one of their very, very best. We also pray for the tragic death of the individual who hit the trooper's car, and the family that lost a loved one as well. We ask for your peace to surpass all understanding to fall upon them as well. This evening, Lord, we lift up our city to you, especially in light of what's happening around the world and even in this country, where our schools are no longer a safe place. We pray especially for all our schools in Troy, that all the teachers and the staff and the law enforcement officers will do their very best to keep us safe, but at the same time, give us the wisdom to know when to act and when to respond. We also pray for this awesome council. Under the leadership of Mayor Baker, we pray that you would give them the wisdom to know what to do, what not to do, how to develop our city in such a way that we will be thriving and others will see the city as an example of how to grow together as one community. And finally, Lord, this evening we ask that everyone that's here, from the different parts of the city to different nationalities and backgrounds, that you would give them a peaceful heart, that when they speak and when they share their concerns, that their hearts will be tamed with knowledge and grace, that in this council there will be a consensus to listen and to move rightly. We submit this time to you, Lord, and we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Pastor. Appreciate it. I'll call the September 16th, 2024 Troy City Council meeting to order and ask for the roll call from Ms. Dixon.
Mayor Baker?
Here.
Councilmember Brooks?
Here.
Councilmember Chamberlain-Krenga? Here. Councilmember Chanda?
Here.
Councilmember Gunn?
Here.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick?
Here.
All present this evening. We have no certificates of recognition and special presentations this evening, no carryover items, so we move on to public hearings. We do have one this evening. E1 is a street vacation request, SVJPLN 2024-0002, request to vacate a portion of right-of-way approximately 30 feet wide by 263.2 feet long west of Rochester between Level and Hannah, abutting 801 Hannah, PIN 88-20-03-276-001, platted as part of Clark Estates subdivision in Section 3, and that'll be introduced by Brent Savadon, our Community Development Director. Good evening, Brent.
Good evening, Mayor Baker, City Council. When I was getting ready for work this morning, my wife asked me if I had any meetings this week, and I said, yeah, I've got council tonight. I've got a street vacation request. My wife said, what is a street vacation request? So this first slide is appropriate. What is a street vacation? A street vacation occurs when the city has interest in a right-of-way, a street or a right-of-way, and transfers that interest to a private owner or multiple private owners. And the process to do so is authorized under the Land Division Act. I'll be using the term street and right-of-way kind of interchangeably. Right-of-way typically refers to a public street, a walkway, or an alleyway. And you may also hear me use the term paper street, and that's when there's a street that is approved but never developed. It's shown on paper to be a street, but it's never paved. And I should note that under the Land Division Act, when a platted street is vacated, ownership of the now vacated plat reverts to owners of the property that abut the right-of-way, provided it's within the same plat. And that'll make sense a little as we get a little further into this presentation. So in terms of process, it begins with an application, like all developments begin with an application. There's an internal staff review. The item is scheduled for a Planning Commission public hearing. Planning Commission considers the item, makes a recommendation, goes to City Council for a public hearing, and if it is approved, the property owner is ultimately conveyed to the owners. We treat all applications on a case-by-case basis. They're all independent of each other. These are some of the issues we look at. I'll just go through them really briefly. Is the land proposed for vacation currently in use by the city? Does the city have a need for this right-of-way in the future? Are public or private utilities affected by the vacation? Is there a need to retain easements? Will the granting of the vacation have an adverse effect on surrounding property owners? Will vacation have an adverse effect on the utilization of the abutting property? And is it in the city's best interest to keep the right-of-way? That's the ultimate question. Is it in the city's best interest to keep the right-of-way? Right-of-way can be acquired many different ways. The first is when it's platted, when the subdivision is approved. Right-of-way can also be acquired through donation, through condemnation, tax foreclosure, warranty deed, and quitclaim deed. And this right-of-way was acquired through quitclaim deed, which is, I believe, in my 22 years of working here, I don't know how many street vacations we've reviewed, but this is the first, I believe, that has involved a quitclaim deed. Usually, the vacations we deal with are platted. They're approved through the platting process. So, we're talking about this piece here. This is level here to the north, Hannah to the south, and we're talking about this piece here. It's 30 feet wide by 263.2 feet long, and it is within the Clark Estates subdivision. And that subdivision you see here, this is the plat or the drawing, the approved drawing of the subdivision here. And you see here in yellow is the right-of-way that was approved, the entire right-of-way here that was approved for the plat, and it's this portion here that we're talking about between Hannah and Lovell. It was platted in 1953, but it was platted as an easement for road purposes. It wasn't a it wasn't a public road at that time, not until 1958, when a quitclaim deed conveyed the easement to the city and it became right-of-way. So it was initially platted, easement, conveyed to the city in 1958 via quitclaim deed for the purposes of constructing an 8-inch water main within that right-of-way. I should also note, it's interesting how, if you see the green here, this is Clark Estates here that the easement was platted in here, and right next to it, abutting, is Bassett and Smith Flowing Spring Acres subdivision. Here's the dividing line, and notice the right-of-way here from that subdivision. So combined with this subdivision, it's about 55 feet. The applicant is proposing to vacate this 30 feet. This distance is about 25 feet. This is 30. This is a total of 60 here. It's definitely a unique application. In the street vacation request, the applicant provided 13 reasons for the request. I'm not going to read them all. They're in your packet. But I'm sure the applicant will wish to speak after I have. So, issues for council to consider. When we circulated the application for staff comments, staff had the following concerns. City-owned utilities should remain within rights-of-way whenever possible. The right-of-way was obtained for installation of water main and future maintenance, and there's no apparent benefit to the city in changing from a public road to a road easement. And there was also numerous concerns from the public. Two of them include the right-of-way is used by children to walk to school, and the right-of-way is an open space corridor for recreation and wildlife. So in summary, the comments generated via internal review, as well as comments provided by residents, do not support the proposed street vacation. The Planning Commission held a public hearing on this item July 9th, and they recommended denial by a vote of 7-1. And I can answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Brent. Any questions for the Community Development Director? Councilmember Chamberlain-Craig.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to follow up, thank you, Director Salvador, for answering my question that I had, because I had a similar encounter with a family member when I talked to my father that I have a street vacation, and he got so excited that he wanted to dive into my agenda item. And is a land surveyor, and has served on Planning Commission for decades. So he also said this is very unique with the presence of a deed. What I read from your answer is why it still makes sense to be a street vacation is that the quit claim deed does not reference utilities. So is that kind of the big, and I'm just pulled it up and trying to look at it, and you're right, I don't think I see anything there.
I always have a mouthful. Quit claim deed references the west 30 feet of lot 65 of Clark Estate subdivision as recorded in Library 69 of plats on page 9, Oakland County records. That refers to the easement for public road purposes. So it seemed very clear based on the fact that, going back to this drawing, or this aerial, excuse me, when you put Clark Estates subdivision next to the Bassett Smith Flowing Spring Acres subdivision, there was every intention of having a public road right-of-way there. It made sense to process it as a street vacation request.
To follow up, just to clarify, so I thought the deed was initiated because utilities were needed, but you're saying that deed goes back to actually when around the street?
Well, I wasn't alive in 1958, but I think it was acquired for two reasons, and one of them was a water main, an 8-inch water main, right in that area, within that now public right away.
Okay, still it seems to be utilities and not for the road, but if it's not listed in the quit claim deed, I understand that. Yes, I just recognize there's a lot of complexity to
Right.
this. So.
It's a unique application for sure.
Councilmember Gunn.
So part of the analysis that I understand is if we did revert it back to owners, they could potentially split this off to two parcels, is that right?
I believe so, yes.
And they could develop it?
I believe they could split it roughly, let me show it, somewhere in here, and they could retain this home and they could construct another home here.
That's what it looked like.
That reason isn't listed in the 13 reasons
Yeah.
in the application.
Yeah, but it's the potential.
Yes.
Additional questions from council for Brent? I don't have a question. My question is procedurally, I guess, for the city clerk. Mr. Appihidian's here, the applicant. He signed up to speak during the public hearing, but you had mentioned that he might want to, are we giving him an opportunity to present that you're aware of? You had mentioned, I wasn't sure what you meant by that.
I was only assuming that he would ask for an opportunity to speak.
Okay, during the public comment.
Yes,
That's fine.
he is
Okay.
the applicant.
That's fine. Just making sure.
Yeah.
All right. In that case, then, if there's no other questions for Brent right now, I'll open the public hearing. We do have several people signed up to speak for this public hearing. As a reminder, you don't need to be signed up to speak for this public hearing. If you get so moved to speak after everyone else has, you're entitled to. Our rules of procedure allow for 3 minutes of public comment. It's not a back and forth question and answer period. It's your opportunity to speak directly to us as a body. We'll have an opportunity to speak and respond after everyone is gone. So with that, first signed up is Mike Karloff. Come on up, sir.
Thanks for the opportunity. I live on Hannah. I walk down that easement every day, and I have for decades, as many of my neighbors here do. Kids play there too. And it's a gathering place for all kinds of wildlife. If you walk down there and you don't see a deer, you did something wrong. And on a more technical note, I am retired from the city of Troy as a superintendent of the DPW. There's a water main in that easement. There's a sewer in that easement, 2 manholes, 2 telephone poles, 2 power poles, guy wires, and a high-powered line above. And in the DPW, we have worked in that right-of-way to repair a water main. And to be honest, I don't think it's big enough as it is. It's 30 feet wide, but you get a couple pieces of heavy equipment in there, it's not big enough. And to give it up as a right-of-way, it just wouldn't be practical. And I hope that you don't do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Karloff.
Yeah.
Next up is Ali Apahedian.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, City Council. Before I get into my comments, I just wanted to clarify that according to City Council rules and procedures, the petitioner is allowed more than 3 minutes to speak, according to what even was posted and according to what's on the city website. Is that correct? I'm reading that here.
City Attorney Bloom.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Yes, the petitioners are afforded 15 minutes to present to City Council.
Which was my question earlier, but it's fine. You have 15 minutes, Ali.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Good evening, Mayor Baker. Good evening, council members. My name is Ali Apahedian. I'm the applicant for the street vacation request and the property owner of 801 Hannah. The reason I'm before you this evening is because the history of this property and its right-of-way boundaries have created a rare and unusual circumstance of hardship that can only be corrected by the City Council. When the Clark Estate subdivision was originally platted, my property was platted with a lot frontage on Hannah of 130 feet, with 30 feet of the westerly portion as an easement. Lots 13, 14, 39, 40, and 64 to the south were platted exactly the same way. This 30-foot wide easement was platted all the way from Lovell to the north down to 240 feet south to Marengo. After 70-plus years, this easement exists exactly how it is and how it was platted for all the lots in Clark Estate subdivision except for 801 Hannah. Today, these 5 lots not only still have the 30-foot wide easement, but one of the properties was allowed to actually build by the city building department a 2-car garage and a shed in that easement. But in the case of 801 Hannah, the situation was quite different. A few years ago, after the original platting, the 30-foot easement, as was mentioned here, was converted to city right-of-way only for the purpose of installing an underground water main. My property is the only property out of 2 properties in the entire city that is considered a corner lot with 3 frontages, and one of them being a paper street, which is actually not paved. I explained this in great detail to the Planning Commission, and some of the members were still confused at the end of the discussion and voted without a complete understanding and clear understanding of how these 3 lot frontages are on this property. The zoning ordinance for lots in R1B districts require all front yard setbacks to be a minimum of 40 feet. When the city converted the easement to a right-of-way, it removed 30 of the 40 feet required for the lot frontage on the west side to meet the minimum required by the zoning ordinance. This caused a very rare and unusual situation of the structural nonconformity that exists today with the house. The undue hardship of this nonconformity was created because the westerly property line was moved 30 feet to the east. This nonconformity exists only for my property in the entire subdivision. Because of this nonconformity, the city building department refuses to issue me a building permit for any kind of improvement on the house, even for a small 10 by 10 concrete patio in the backyard. There isn't a single house in our subdivision or neighborhood that is non-conforming because an easement that the city converted to right-of-way. None of my neighbors have to be concerned that the building department won't issue them a permit to make improvements to their home. Section 14.01 of the zoning ordinance encourages property owners to bring non-conforming structures into compliance with the zoning ordinance. One of the main reasons for the street vacations and the primary reason since the Planning Commission, I iterated those 13 points to have something there for a conversation for the Planning Commission to consider. But the primary reason for the street vacation is to comply with the zoning ordinance. There are only two ways to do this. One way is to demolish the house and start over, which is unrealistic and unfeasible. And the more simple and logical solution is to vacate the paper street and restore the right-of-way back to an easement the way it was originally platted. Mr. Mayor, you stated in this chamber, at least on one occasion, that one of the reasons residents are frustrated with government bureaucracy and red tape is that it creates more problems than it solves. Here we are dealing with a complex set of circumstances that has a very simple solution. The way to right the wrong that created this monster of nonconformity is to simply convert this area back to an easement. An easement doesn't take away any access rights to this, that the city needs to perform any maintenance or replacement of water main at any time in the future. The easement allows the city to retain in perpetuity the right to access the area for any reason it deems necessary for operations or repair of utilities. That's exactly how an easement functions today for all other street vacations with underground utilities that were granted by City Council in the past. I would like to shift for a couple of minutes to what transpired at the Planning Commission meeting back on July 9th when I presented my initial application to that body. Between my attorney and myself, who is present here tonight, we did extensive due diligence in reviewing and understanding how past vacation requests were reviewed and approved by the Planning Commission. This was all new for me, and I wanted to make sure I understood how this process worked. After combing through a lot of publicly available information from past meetings, an overarching theme kept on repeating itself. And that theme was that the Planning Commission and the City Council were overwhelmingly in favor of street vacations because they relieved the city of liability and long-term maintenance responsibilities. Let the record show that in all past vacation requests with underground utilities that were granted, the engineering department and the DPW did not object at all to having utilities in an easement. Furthermore, the following statement was made during a public hearing for a relatively recent vacation request with underground utilities that was approved by the Planning Commission and the City Council. And I quote, "When the vacation applications circulate internally, the DPW always seems to say we're fully in support of it because it's less that they have to maintain and be involved with. If a tree falls, we have to go help take care of the tree, so it's easier on the city," end quote. This statement was made by Director Savadant at a public hearing that I was present at personally. The surprise and the shock came when Mr. Savadant presented to the Planning Commission on July 9th that the Director of Engineering and Director of DPW were not in favor of this vacation, giving arbitrary objections that were used against an applicant, against myself for the first time ever. Why is it that the one public hearing, he states that the DPW favors street vacations, but for some odd reason, mine was the exception? How is it possible that in the past, DPW and Planning Commission had no objection to a street vacation with underground utilities in the backyard of the property, with almost impossible access from the public street? That is an actual vacation that was granted. But in my case, the street vacation area is on the side yard with full access from two streets, not just one. Absolutely no obstructions, no fences, no trees, no garage, no shed, no deck, nothing. Absolutely nothing. Perfect access to the easement. Even more shocking was that Mr. Savadant told the Planning Commission that my request has to be analyzed based on certain criteria and conditions that had never been applied to applicants in the past, and they were posted up here tonight. These criteria were never applied to any applicant in the past for the last 60 years. They're first applied to my request, and my application request. Public records show clearly that no previous vacation applications were subject to these requirements. Virtually 100% of all vacation requests within the past 50 years have been approved by the Planning Commission and City Council, including vacations with underground utility lines. At the July 9th Planning Commission meeting, the Commissioner Dave Lambert remarked that in his 20 years on the Planning Commission, he has never seen the Planning Commission deny a street vacation. Why all of a sudden change the rules? Why all of a sudden discriminate between applicants and subject my request to scrutiny no other applicant in the past was subjected to. The city charter nor the zoning ordinance give the Planning Commission the authority to arbitrarily change the rules of the engagement of street vacation applications. Any changes to the zoning ordinance requires a very meticulous process of a text amendment modification to be followed. No petitioner that comes before the Planning Commission should be taken by surprise that new rules are in place just like that overnight. My position on this botched process should be very clear this evening. I believe the Planning Commission was arbitrary and capricious to deny my street vacation request based on different standards that were used on previous applications. Much of the feedback you received from neighbors regarding this request through email and through other means of communication were full of misinformation, hyperbole, or flat-out lies. It's despicable and wrong that so many residents went on social media and posted all kinds of garbage about me just because I applied for a street vacation. None of these people know anything about me personally or my family. You're going to hear some of these same people tonight stand up here and make all kinds of statements about how creating an easement is going to ruin the neighborhood. Obviously, all the street vacations approved by City Council in the past didn't ruin any neighborhoods in Troy. They only improved the operation of our city because it alleviated the city of liability and costs associated with those right-of-ways, which would be costs to the taxpayers of the city. I can assure you that all of these neighbors who are so adamantly opposed to this don't understand that they can make improvements to their homes, but I cannot. It's a very specific hardship imposed only on my property. Access through that area will not be closed off to pedestrians or deer or bunnies. Neighbors can still walk their pets. Kids can still go through there if they really need to go catch a school bus on Rochester Road. Deer can freely frolic through the area the same way that they roam freely through the neighbors' yards. There is an existing adjacent 25-foot wide right-of-way that can become a full-fledged half-a-mile-long pathway if the city has future plans to add this section to other sections of trailways and pathways. And it's right there, adjacent to this small, short section that's being requested to be vacated. Changing this area back to an easement will in no way hinder the city from building any future trailways expansion, even if it's 15 years down the road. The adjacent right-of-way is there, untouched, undisturbed. The DPW or engineering will have full access to this easement, the exact same way it has access to all other areas with underground utilities that were vacated in the past. And also the same way it has access to thousands of other easements throughout the city with underground utilities. Before I close, I find it necessary to bring to your attention something I find of significant importance regarding the resolutions presented before you to vote on this evening. All the agenda packets I looked through for City Council meetings in the past, where the City Council had to vote for the vacation of a street, there was only one resolution presented. It was always a resolution to approve, and that's public record, and you can do your due diligence and find that yourself. This is the first time ever that the City Council is presented with Resolution A and Resolution B, with Resolution B being to deny. That has never happened to any street vacation application in the last 60 years in this city. Why the discrepancy? Why the discrimination? Why is the City Council being put words in its mouth on all these reasons to deny that were never used for previous applicants? Do you actually agree with the inverse of the statement in Resolution B that basically says that for all vacation requests in the past, the city found that there was a benefit to itself to vacate the right-of-way? The statement that the city staff supports the recommendations of Planning Commission are not entirely true. The fire chief is on record in writing saying that he has no objection to the street vacation. Isn't the fire chief city staff? Those comments are not 100% accurate in those resolutions. How come the city never, until now, put into a public resolution for street vacation that it finds a preference to maintain utilities within a right-of-way? This is the first time that's ever been done. No applicant in the past has ever been subjected to that statement in a resolution or required to even explain anything to a planning commission or a city council. Another statement in the resolution B makes it sound like my vacation request is somehow fragmenting the right-of-way between Lovell and Quail Creek. This is not true. I think I've made it very clear tonight that my vacation request has nothing to do with that 25-foot wide easement. That will remain intact the way it has existed for the past 100 years, because that subdivision was actually platted in the 20s, not in the 50s, the one on the east side. And that's been there for 100 years. Whatever is going on here looks to me like just city bureaucracy gone amok with this application. And it's happened before in the past with applicants coming before the Planning Commission and the City Council. This process should not be corrupted by the politics of City Hall. It's extremely frustrating to stand up here before you as an applicant and witness all this. Planning Commission and City Council and zoning boards and other agencies, they make mistakes. The most of you have been around long enough to know that the Planning Commission made mistakes in the past that you corrected. Up until now, the street vacation process has been so simple and so streamlined, no politics, no neighbors posting misinformation on social media, no different criteria applied to different applicants. It's time to press the pause button and ask yourself, what's going on here? If you really want to know, I can tell you what's going on, and it's very sad. This shouldn't be happening in our city, and I respectfully request the City Council approve the street vacation request in order to rectify the nonconformity that was created by the converting the easement to right-of-way and to right the wrong of the arbitrary standards applied to my application. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Abahidi. Next up is Mrs. Abahidi.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I am Adriana Apahidian. My husband and I own the house at 801 Hannah. The request before you this evening is simple. When the Clark Estate subdivision was platted more than 7 years ago, it was platted with a 30-foot wide easement that ran along the western edge of the subdivision. The easement exists the same today for all lots except for one, 801 Hannah. The easement was converted to right-of-way. In doing so, it created the extreme hardship we are faced with today, the hardship of a non-conforming house. The City of Troy Building Department made it very clear to us that they will not give us a building permit, not even for the smallest improvement. Not today, 5 years, 20 years. As long as our house is non-conforming, we can't do anything to improve it. No other neighbor that are speaking here tonight has to deal with this hardship. They can make any kind of improvement they wish to their house anytime, the way they want, and the building department will gladly grant them a permit. We bought this house for our daughter. All of you know very well that houses in Troy aren't getting any cheaper. When our daughter graduates college, we want her to stay in Troy and not move out of state. This council has said many times in the past that one of your goals is to keep college kids from leaving Troy. This is exactly what we are trying to do as parents. We're hoping that our daughter will choose to live in Troy. Until that time comes, we want to have the right to make improvements to her potential house just like any other neighbor does, without the hardship of this structural nonconformity hanging over our heads. You have the ability tonight to resolve this problem once and for all. A vote to approve this vacation will in no way damage the neighborhood. Please do not accept the fear-mongering or the speculation. A vote to approve this vacation will in no way block off any access from residents or animals to pass through that adjacent 25-foot wide right-of-way that will remain intact. The Planning Commission and City Council has approved virtually all street vacation requests for the past 60 years, and we are in a better way today. The city is still thriving. People still want to move to Troy. This city can retain the easement and have access to this property anytime for any reason. I respectfully ask you to approve our vacation request so we can have the same rights to our property as all other Troy residents have to theirs without this undue hardship. Our house has some extremely rare plat and right-of-way characteristics. We wouldn't be here with this request if it wasn't so. No other neighbors in our subdivision, needs to come before you with a street vacation request because their easements were never converted to right-of-way. I request that you vote yes on this vacation request. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Darius Stankowski. Are you a Troy resident, Mr.?
I am not.
It's a public hearing, sorry. Wrong. My bad.
My name's Darius Stankowski. I'm here on behalf of the Apedians seeking vacation of the right-of-way. I'm an attorney with the Butzel Law Firm. This property is the only property with a right-of-way on it for a half mile. There are no current plans by the city to construct a road along this right-of-way, and in fact, the city cannot construct a right-of-way or a roadway without acquiring right-of-way from all of the other properties along this half-mile stretch along the walking trail. The Planning Commission was arbitrary and capricious in recommending denial when they ignored the city standards for right-of-way vacation and created and imposed their own standard. There is no reason for this right-of-way. There remains a walking path that addresses the minimal foot traffic in the area. The utility easements will remain. The city doesn't have any current or long-term plans to use the property for right-of-way purposes. And again, even if they did, they would need to acquire the remaining right-of-way from all of the other owners to do so. The right-of-way makes this otherwise useful property non-conforming, requiring variances or permits for basic modification at great expense to the Apedians, when the same does not affect any other similarly situated property within the city. For these reasons, we ask that the road vacation be granted and the Apedians have the property. Thank you.
Next up is Allison Sloan.
Hi. I just wanted to say that I am greatly opposed to the request to vacate that right-of-way. As I've said at the Planning Commissioners meeting and in my email to them and to all of you, I'm totally convinced, and nobody can change my mind on that this property was bought with all intentions of that lot being split. It's happened twice before in Marengo, same sort of situation, and I think he just wants that square footage so he can split that lot. I live right next door. I don't want to see a big old house put on that second half of that lot. If it happens, he will sell it to a builder, and this is my opinion and my belief, which I'm entitled to, that a house will be put there. And that's what I will see when I come out my back door or look out my windows. I'll see a big old two-story house probably. People buy homes for certain reasons. I bought mine for the openness of the yard and the privacy, and I'll lose all that if this property is sold to a builder. And I don't know why, if he bought this house, I don't know why he bought it if it wasn't up to his standards, if it wasn't up to his liking in the first place. So I think he had an ulterior motive on that. The Planning Commission denied the request, and the city staff supported that. So I'm asking all of you to be on the side of us neighbors and also deny this request. And that's all I have to say. Oh, one other thing. And I'm not saying who did this, because I'm not sure. But the game of hide the vacate sign on the level end of the street, where it could be seen by a lot of passerbyers, was pretty shady. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Next up is John Terenzi.
Mayor, City Council, thank you for hearing me tonight. My name is John Terenzi. I live at 841 Hannah. I'm asking you to please deny the vacation request. My first and most important reason is no one who lives in the subdivision wants to see the lot get split into two parcels and a second house be built. The applicant does not live in this part of Troy. I don't want to look at a house in my backyard. I'm sure none of you would either. City planning and all the internal departments of DPW are against the vacation due to the fact that there are utilities in the right-of-way. It should remain city-owned land. There are also 2 different school districts on Hannah, Evandale and Troy. If the right-of-way reverts to privately owned land, it could make it harder for kids to use the bus system because the land could be split, this back parcel gets sold, the new owner blocks it off. You never know what's going to happen. My wife and I enjoy the country-like setting that we have. We feel it should remain that way. That's what we invested in, and that's what everybody who lives in the subdivision invested in. Please vote no. The residents on Hannah and the surrounding streets need your support on this matter. That's what you're here for, to support us citizens. We voted you in. We appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Terenzi. Next up is Sarah Terenzi.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity to speak. Like my husband said, we invested in this property about 4 years ago because of the private setting. Our lot is really big. We look at a street. We don't look at houses. We have lots of privacy, like that part. It is public knowledge that this man has bought other properties, and I'm sure we can all figure that out, and that he has split them. So we do have a general concern that this property is going to be split. And when we bought our house, everything was told to us what was wrong, what couldn't be fixed, what needed to be fixed. I feel like he had the same opportunity. So why buy a house if you knew you had all these issues that you couldn't resolve without getting permits? We have to get permits to build a fence or put up a privacy fence. We have to get permits to do any kind of garage work to our house. If something's wrong with his property, I think it's his responsibility to fix it, and you have to go by the proper routes to do that. I guess that's about it. I appreciate your time in this matter and know that, yes, we're emotional. All of us are emotional. We don't want to see our street changed for someone who doesn't even live on it. He may own the property, but we know for a fact he doesn't live there. So thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Terenzi. Next up is Joey Colby.
So my name's Joey Colby. I live at 5125 Shady Creek. I don't really have a dog in this fight, but I do believe, I would ask you, Mayor Baker, what would Ronald Reagan do? Ronald Reagan would cut through the red tape and the bureaucracy. You know, if I could not upgrade my house, I would be up here screaming. It wouldn't just be me, it would be all of my family yelling at you and telling you off. And you know I'd do it. And this gentleman should not have to go through bureaucracy and red tape to upgrade his property. So I'm just here to say that I support the easement. That's all that I got.
Thank you, Mr. Colby. That concludes those that have signed up to speak for E1 in this public hearing. Like I said at the beginning, it doesn't preclude you from speaking now if you feel so motivated to do so. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this matter? All right, seeing no one, I will close the public hearing. I actually have a question for Mr. Salvadon, if he doesn't mind. There were some allegations made that the rules were changed or the standards were changed and it was presented differently for this street vacation request compared to every other one in the city. Are you comfortable speaking to that? You've been in this department for over 20 years. Sure.
22 years and a few months. I've worked for the city of Troy. The standards rules were not changed. They have been applied consistently over time. The only difference in this instance was, for the first time, we took the effort to explain the process in detail to the Planning Commission, and we listed all the things that are considered when the city reviews the street vacation request. Same standards, we just listed them on a PowerPoint slide for the education of the Planning Commission.
Okay. Any other questions? Councilmember Chanda?
Yeah, also for Director President, I think it was mentioned, excuse me, by one of the, someone who presented that the applicant, when he bought the property, was it like this? That means, in other words, was the right-of-way there at that point of time? And it was mentioned that it was like that. I just wanted to confirm that is the case.
That's yes, it was.
Okay, thank you.
Additional questions? Councilmember Chamberlain-Craig.
Thank you, Mayor. And this follows actually Councilmember Chanda's question. Is typically when you purchase a house, you hire someone from a private assessor who will tell you everything that's wrong with the house potentially, so you can decide, do you really want to buy it? So is this something that would have shown up when you are looking to purchase a home?
I would think so. I would think so. I mean, when I purchased my home, I hired someone to do a deep dive. I also did some of my own due diligence with my background, but I would think so.
Councilmember Gunn.
One of the points you brought up was that property that abuts the property, that the other owners get that property. So is the reason that 726 would not get any of that land because they didn't apply for it? 801 did?
They're in a different plat.
Okay. All right.
Go ahead, Brent.
There's a couple things that were stated that I'd like to correct for the public record, if I may. The applicant indicated that there were only two options for him moving forward. One was to demolish the home and start over, and the second was to approve the vacation. There's a third option that wasn't mentioned. He could seek a variance from the Zoning Board of Appeals. He indicated that he's got the most unique property in the city of Troy. Given the fact that it's so unique, maybe it has an opportunity for consideration for a variance. Regarding the comment I made on a previous street vacation, I can't comment on something I said in the past at a public meeting without knowing the context, so I'm a little bit lost on that. I don't deny I said it, I just don't know the context. And regarding the resolution, the resolution reflects the fact that the Planning Commission recommended denial 7-1, and staff also recommended denial, so it seemed reasonable to provide two resolutions to City Council, one for approval and one for denial. There's no other reason other than the fact that the recommendation was for denial by Planning Commission.
I actually have a follow-up question to that. Maybe it's for City Attorney Bloom. If there'd only been Resolution A, which is to approve it, and it was voted down, does that have the same effect as the affirmative rejection of it as in Resolution B?
Mayor, it does, but again, these options were provided for your consideration, and actually it's more beneficial for the applicant to actually have a specific resolution that would allow for a granting of it.
Councilmember Brooks, did you have a question?
I think Brett did answer my question. Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted him to speak essentially to the property owner's claims that he's unable to make any changes to his home, but you kind of spoke to that, I believe.
Additional questions?
Let's make a comment.
We're not doing discussion yet. Councilmember Gunn, let's wait until we get a resolution on the table. How about that?
Yep.
Stick to the rules. Someone like to move a resolution? Councilmember Hamilton.
I'll move E1, street vacation request SV JPLN 2024-0002, request to vacate a portion of right-of-way approximately 30 feet wide by 263.2 feet long west of Rochester between Lovell and Hannah, abutting 801 Hannah, PIN 88-20-03-276-001, platted as part of Clark Estates subdivision in Section 3, as printed in the agenda packet under Resolution B.
Support.
Moved by Councilmember Hamilton, supported by Councilmember Brooks, that we approve E1 street vacation request SVJPLN 2024-0002, request to vacate a portion of right-of-way approximately 30 feet wide by 263.2 feet long west of Rochester between Lovell and Hannah, abutting 801 Hannah, PIN 88-20-03-276-001, platted as part of Clark Estates subdivision in Section 3, Resolution B as printed in the agenda packet. Discussion. Councilmember Gunn, did you have a comment?
Well, I was just going to make a comment based on Rebecca's about inspection. So I know that there would be most likely inspection on the house, but you also are getting, part of your closing package, you're getting everything you need to know about the what challenges you may have on the property. And I can't believe that, I believe that you must have known that this was a problem going forward.
Thank you. Additional discussion?
I mean,
Councilmember Chanda?
Basically, that's my thought too. I mean, if the property was purchased at the time when this was there, I don't see why somebody would buy the property without considering this. And as it was mentioned that there are ways to do home improvement, there is a third option. So I think if that is the need, I'm sure that they can find a way to do that. But I don't see any benefit to the city for vacating this. I don't see any public interest in vacating this, and especially when the neighbors are so much opposed to it. So that's kind of my comment. So.
Okay. Additional comments, discussion? Councilmember Chanda, excuse me, Chamberlain Kranga.
Thank you, Mayor. So I feel for anyone who owns private property and can't do what they want with that property, so I feel for that. I also recognize when you purchase a home, and if you're purchasing a home where my son, I was gonna envision my son living, or your daughter, as you said, is going to live, I would make sure I did all the due diligence to ensure that I could make sure that home, I had the best home possible for my son or for your daughter. And so I don't know who you ended up hiring or if that was how that came out, but I do have a hard time believing that something did not come out or you were not aware that there could be these non-conforming issues. So given that, and given that the ultimate crux of all standards that we make a decision on here in council is around health, safety, and welfare, and I believe internally around protection of those utilities and access, I believe there is a welfare, there is a safety element to that, and externally around the use of how neighbors are using that, I do think there is a health, safety, and welfare argument to be made for keeping things as is. And given that there is another option, there is a variance, so I would hope that that could be a path forward to be able to provide a home for your daughter in the future, or however that land is used. So for those reasons, I want to believe that there is another path forward, and I won't be supporting the vacation.
Thank you, Councilmember Chamberlain Kranga. Additional comments? Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick.
My ears perk up when the phrase arbitrary and capricious flies our way related to decision-making on the part of any of our boards or commissions. And certainly, I do not want to make an impression here that we are being arbitrary and capricious. I reviewed that Planning Commission meeting, and importantly, I reviewed, in our packet, we see that our city engineer, our DPW, is telling us it is in our best interest to retain the way it is. There are options for the needs of updating or whatever you need to do with your house. And if I'm weighing your ability to update your house, the ease of that, doing this versus the public health and safety and the needs with a water main there and what our city engineer is indicating, I think I'm going to lean thoughtfully and with a lot of reflection toward what our city engineers, our city staff are telling us. Our infrastructure is extremely important. We're all becoming more and more aware of exactly how important it is to the city and protecting our interests there. It's just vital, and that is not an arbitrary and capricious decision. That is a public safety decision. That is, when our city staff is resoundingly giving us an indication, the Planning Commission concurs, and our own individual analysis when we take a look speaks to us in that way, it's a pretty clear decision that need, the public need, outweighs a need that can be overcome through other methods, as Mr. Savidant indicated. So I will be voting yes on concurring with staff and Planning Commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick. Additional comments? I think Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick spoke to a little bit what I was going to speak about. We were led with the standard being ultimately is in the city's best interest to keep the right-of-way as it is, and I do believe it is here. It's really difficult to go against unanimous city staff comments in an internal review, a 7-to-1 planning commission recommendation for denial. A neighborhood is up in arms, although I understand the risk in that, but I appreciate you coming forward this evening. But ultimately, when Brent added that there are additional options if you'd like to improve this house, at least with the Zoning Board of Appeals variance request, and in light of the fact that this is such a unique property, that may lend to your favor. I don't think you're without options here. And I do not believe this decision so far, or any of the work done in internal review by city staff or our planning commission was arbitrary and capricious. And I know why you're stating it, and I understand your positioning, but I disagree with it wholeheartedly. And for that, I will be supporting Resolution B, which is a denial of the vacation request. The vote, Ms. Dixon?
Mayor Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Chamberlain-Craig?
Yes.
Councilmember Chanda?
Yes.
Councilmember Gunn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick?
Yes.
Motion carries. That concludes public hearings this evening. Next up is public comment for items on the agenda from Troy residents and businesses. I'm going to ask for consensus from council as I look down at public comment in L, and Q. I believe most of those public commenters are relating to the liquor license agenda item, and I'd like to advance everyone on public comment signed up to be in section F. Is everyone okay with that?
Sure, yep.
Is that fair? Yep. Okay. That's that same rules. There's 3 minutes. It's not a back and forth. It's to be directed to all of us as one body. We'll have the opportunity to respond and reply afterwards. There are several of you signed up, although the first person didn't mean to sign up and he left. So first up will be Ashok Badi.
A very good evening, Honorable Mayor and respectable council members. Namaste to each and every one of you. I am an Indian American. By that I mean I'm an American of Indian origin. We are here in this beautiful city of Troy because we believe this is a city that respects diversity and it is culturally a vibrant city. And so are so many of my community members who are here today, living here. I just request, all the council members to, take a decision which is going to be fair for minority-owned business owners. We are appealing to give us a fair chance, to make sure we get to conduct business and contribute to this city and be a part of this city. So I request the council to please consider granting the liquor license to, one of the minority-owned businesses, and if possible, give it to a restaurant called Paradise, the owner of which has been supporting our community. I also happen to be a founder of a temple. I'm a trustee of a temple. And this particular restaurant has been consistently helping us, with one of what we call Annadanam, which is food donation, where we donate food to the homeless, to the needy every week. They have been consistently supporting us in all our efforts and various charity activities that we do. So I highly recommend, you to consider granting this license to one of the business owners and, if possible, to Paradise.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you coming forward this evening. Next up is Srinath Zicki.
Good afternoon.
Good evening.
Good evening, council members.
Sure, you can get the mic here.
Yeah, I signed up too, so my name will be there too, but we both are going to speak. We are here to represent again Paradise Biryani Point. We are a small business enterprise, as we know. We are fully vested in the Troy community. Today, I told you guys during the last meeting how we are fully committed to living in Troy and serving people of Troy and going about doing our business. We want to follow our American dreams. We've worked really, really hard, got married, came here 20 years back, and have worked very hard to set up a business, and Ziggy has put in his 200% to achieve that American dream. Today I'm going to talk about the charitable contributions, I guess. So just last time I did say that we have bought the property and we are doing the business for 8 years now. But as I said, today I'm going to talk about more charitable contributions. Just in 2024, we contributed to the Congregational Church, which did a fundraiser for suicide prevention and for pet adaptation. And then Sai Baba Temple, we have contributed since 2018 to current. They also have cricket tournament during the summer, which the Troy residents look forward to, and we contribute towards the cricket tournament too. We also donated food to the building department here in Troy. We are very, very supportive of the law enforcement people out here. We appreciate them coming to our restaurant. Many of the police force support our restaurant, and we welcome them. We've donated food repeatedly towards them. Then we have also, during COVID time especially, we donated a lot of food, or we took a lot of food to the hospitals in Henry Ford mainly, and also at assisted living facility in Southfield. We did that on multiple occasions during 2020. And also we are big on women and empowerment. Every time, like for the past 2 years at least, on International Women's Day, we give space, and we have this party where a bunch of women who work in Troy, mainly nurses. I'm a nurse too, by the way. I have been a nurse. I've studied here in Oakland University, actually a nursing program, and I've been a nurse for 15 years plus. And so we support that, and they have a meeting out there. And then also Mother's Day, we kick off our celebrations after December. January is our month that is slow, and then the first main event we do grandly is the brunch or buffet for Mother's Day. So we are big at celebrating women too, and we would love for you guys all to consider us. That's our final. We really would appreciate it.
Could you remind me of your name again?
Arti Upadhyaya. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, we did ask to brochures.
They were received. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Achille Danello.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm the owner of Renee's Gourmet Pizzeria, also known as True Pizza Co. And I'm here tonight to plead the case of our gluten-free community. Since 2015, we're one of the only destinations where you can get gluten-free eatery and food, and we've been around now for 9 years. And for people to get a wholesome meal, it's really important. And of course, we'd like to add alcohol to that experience. We provide diversity, and we bring people in from outside other communities. We're a destination for a lot of places. So we feel that these licenses are they're very valuable, and everybody knows they're very valuable, and there's only 5 of them, so we understand that. And I guess my request really for the council and for the mayor is to consider the small businesses, because many of us cannot afford these licenses on the open market, and there is scarcity. They are available on the open market, but of course, like some of us smaller guys, we can't afford them. So I would request that we at least consider that as part of the criteria, and of course, the level of diversity that the products that we're bringing in. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Danello. Next up is Hiko Lee.
Konbanwa, Mayor and Council members. Konbanwa means good evening in Japanese. My name is Hoyo Lee, an attorney representing Kazoku Sushi. Standing to my right, to your left, is Mr. Hicha Lee, who is the son of the restaurant's owner. Not to mention that for business owners, obtaining a liquor license is a significant milestone. Kazoku Sushi has waited nearly 7 years to acquire it. I present you, it is an ideal candidate, and here's why. First, Kazoku Sushi is fully prepared to responsibly serve alcohol. The menu provided to you on the orange sheets reflects the current offerings, while the blue sheets outline the proposed menu additions should the liquor license be granted. Kazoku Sushi is already well recognized as getting 4.8 out of 5 rating on Google reviews. Also, the restaurant has already invested about $30,000 in interior renovations for the alcohol service. Landlord is offering additional space for potential expansion in the building. Lastly, Kazoku Sushi is in a unique position in the northern part of Troy, adjacent to the industrial park and business district, where there's no other sushi restaurants who offer alcoholic beverages. Customers are drawn to neighboring cities like Rochester Hills due to the lack of similar options in Troy. It is a loss. Kazoku Sushi can encourage them to stay within the city. In conclusion, Kazoku Sushi is a prime candidate for the liquor license, and respectfully request approval for the liquor license. Mr. Lee will now provide additional details about the business. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Hicho Lee. I am the son of the owners of Kazoku Sushi. Thank you for considering our request for a liquor license. For the past 7 years, my parents and I have been dedicated to offering top quality sushi and also providing a warm, welcoming dining experience that is culturally unique to our local community. With the liquor license, I believe that we can enhance our offerings and also expand our reach beyond just within our cities. Although we are a very small restaurant, only 34 seats available at this moment, we're not asking for this license solely for the purpose of our family's success, but rather we are asking because we strongly believe in our ability to contribute to the city's economic growth and also cultural richness of the city. By granting us this license, you are investing in the vibrancy and the diversity of our city. So we are excited for about the positive impact that we can make with the support of our esteemed members of the City Council. Thank you.
Thank you both. Next up is Sam Bakos.
Mr. Mayor, Troy City Council, thank you for the opportunity to introduce myself. My name is Samuel Backus. Along with my sister Marlena, we are the owners and operators of Ernie's in Clinton Township, restaurant, bar, banquet facilities, and the hub of our catering operations. We've been over there at that location for nearly 46 years, and for the past 8 years, we've been at a sister location here in Troy at the St. Nicholas Cultural Center, 760 West Waddles, where we do banquets and catering for all types of occasions. Between both hubs of operations, we employ nearly 100 people, men, women, young, old, handicapped, disabled. And we expect that with the approval of this license, it will help us remain competitive, and we can add a substantial amount of jobs, well-paying jobs, to local Troy residents. We are a for-profit company, but we do a substantial amount of nonprofit work in the community between seniors and feeding programs and many other services that we donate our time and money to. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Backus. Next up is April Church. I doubt she's looking for a liquor license.
You know why I'm here.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council. I'm here tonight to support the library's request for a budget amendment to complete the security upgrades to the Troy Public Library, and I'm so glad you can hear me tonight. This has been an ongoing project made more difficult and more expensive due to the age and condition of the existing structure. But I'm sure you and everyone in Troy and beyond who attends council meetings knows exactly where I stand on the issue of the library. Simply, we need and deserve a new one. The Friends of the Troy Public Library is a nonprofit organization whose mission is to support the library. And I fear you and the people of Troy may think all we do is stand up here and complain. So tonight I want to highlight some of the many amazing collaborations we have had with the Troy Public Library, made possible by the incredible relationship we have with Emily Phillip and the library staff. In June, the library hosted a summer reading kickoff for the kids. This event was held on the Troy Public Library campus and was attended by thousands of people. The Friends gave away more than 50 boxes of children's books during that 2-hour event. We were proud to be able to purchase the Charlie Cart for the library. This is a food preparation station that will allow the library to host more varieties of cooking programs, and this is something the patrons have been asking for a while. We donated in excess of $25,000 for the library's newest and greatest achievement, the Bookmobile. Hopefully everyone saw it sitting outside as you came in. The ribbon cutting on Saturday was spectacular and well attended, and I personally can't wait to see the Bookmobile touring the city. The Friends hosted another book giveaway at Troy Days. During Troy Days, we had a booth on the corner of Civic Center Drive and Town Center Drive, and we were open every day of Troy Days from the time they opened until well after they closed. And we gave away more than 100 boxes of books during that time. J.K. Rowling said, "If you don't like to read, you haven't found the right book." The Troy Public Library and the Friends are doing everything in our power to help everyone find that right book. Just imagine what we could do with a new and larger library. Thank you.
Joey Colby.
So mine's not on the agenda. Should I wait?
I advanced everybody. We advanced everybody up. It's fine. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. So, hello, my name is Joey Colby Bernard. I live at 5125 Shady Creek Drive. I'm here today to raise concerns about distracted driving in the city. Over the past 2 weeks, I have witnessed and responded to 2 car accidents, both involving injuries, with 2 individuals requiring hospitalization. In each case, it took almost 15 minutes for emergency responders to arrive, which is simply too long when injuries are involved. I'm not here to criticize the police, but I believe we can and should do better. Accidents happen suddenly, and I understand that response time is going to vary. However, I believe that by addressing issues like distracted driving, we can reduce the frequency of these accidents and free up resources to improve emergency response times. In 2023, Michigan recorded 16,543 distracted driving related crashes. Of these, 59 resulted in fatalities. This is a statewide issue, and it is happening right here in our community. With such a high rate of incidents, I believe it's critical that the city takes action to prevent these accidents before they happen. I'm asking the city to consider implementing a distracted driving awareness week to educate the public and reduce accidents. I'm also requesting that law enforcement take a more firm and aggressive stance in addressing distracted driving in our city. By focusing on distracted driving, we can improve road safety and ultimately allow emergency responders to reach those in need faster. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Manjunath Eller.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and the councilors. I'm here on behalf of, my friend who's trying to apply the license. And we've been to the restaurants, and they do a lot of donations, and the food tastes good. And he's trying to have a liquor license. And that helps him and other, attract customers from other cities like Rochester Hills and other stuff. So I would request to consider his application and, issue the license. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Edward Kempen.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yeah, I'm bringing two things up today. The first one, I did talk to Ms. Bloom briefly about. We're trying to set up a meeting. Our homeowners association is considering donating some land, hopefully for park and rec use. We have a park there. It's been there when our subdivision was built some 50 years ago, but it's kind of not being used, and it's more strategic in use for making connected park system in that area for East Long Lakes Estates number 2. Also, the second thing is I am a candidate for Oakland County Commissioner, and one of the things that I wanted to bring, and this is going to be relevant to Troy potentially, is I want to bring casinos to Oakland County with a 50-50 revenue sharing model. This would compete with the monopoly Detroit casinos that are right now set up at a 25% revenue share model, and 10% goes to the state, 15% goes to the city, and as we've all seen, that 15% that goes to the city there circles right back around and is being fed into the developers' buckets, and it's not really helping the community. With a 50-50 share model, I'm assuming the same 8% would go to the state, and that would leave 42% of the gaming revenue to come back to our communities. One of the cities that was highly recommended was the city of Troy. It has the best infrastructure, the best police force, and the best capability to handle that sort of thing. A few other communities also came up high, but in order to bring in something so extreme as that, we would need approval of the city to do that, and of course, a good planning process, which we got a top-notch team for that as well. Some of the other things, just to support numbers, Labor Day weekend, based on estimations of flights going out of DTW to Vegas, the estimate was about $54 million went to Nevada. If Oakland County maps equally to Detroit, it could contribute $400 million a year in revenues, which roughly is equivalent to Oakland County's take of all of our property taxes, but it would probably be distributed to the cities. New development, my estimates are $600 million to $2 billion in brand new development just in the primary, and it would vastly improve all of our retail outlets in the area as well as restaurants and things like that. Lots of new development, and it would be on the backs of the developers wanting to come in as opposed to the taxpayers and things that we would bring to council. And that's pretty much it. That's all I have, but look forward to hearing your comments on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Jinzhao Lin, or Jim.
Good evening, Mayor, City Councilors. I'm the new establishment owner, RG Sushi. It's located in former Panera Bread in Coolidge Highway. It's 5,300 square feet, and I submit with my package. I don't know if you guys got a minute to review it. Yeah. So we have the capacity to have a outdoor patio as well. So my idea is to have like fogo de chao, like endless sushi option, but you can still order individually. Myself, I've been working in restaurant for over 20 years, and I own another sushi restaurant in the state of Minnesota for over 20 years with a liquor license. So because of our size and new establishment, so I'm expecting majority of our revenue will come from dining, and because of our menu, we are in desperate need for a liquor license to make it work, you know. And I'm committed to bring all my experience and expertise together to bring something that's very unique to the city of Troy. And thank you very much for your time, and thank you for consideration. Have a good night.
Thank you, Mr. Lin. Next up is Penny White.
Hello, my name is Penny White. I have Saltwater Eatery on Rochester Road. That's my 12th restaurant.
I guess I'm in the minority because there are very few women who own restaurants by themselves. You have to be a little different and hardworking and a lot of other things. Manage my children at the same time. I taught at Schoolcraft in the hotel restaurant management program. I taught at Eastern Michigan in the hotel restaurant management program. I've been doing this all my life. This is all I know. I love restaurants. I have held 2 liquor licenses in Michigan, in Farmington Hills. I had the city golf course. They came to me when I had the Breakfast Club in Farmington Hills and said, will you run this for us? I was happy to. Dave Boyer, who was the city manager, will tell you that I was extremely responsible, even with the fireman's outing. And we had another restaurant there. They're called Wicked Table. We also had a liquor license at. Very responsible. Everybody was trained in alcohol awareness and so on. I opened the Breakfast Club here because there weren't a lot of breakfast places around, and it serves everybody. I love Troy because it's a community with absolutely so many different nationalities, people, and it's great to have that diversity. Now, when COVID happened, everything changed, especially our industry. I had done breakfast for 25 years, 5 breakfast places opened right near us. I said, I'm doing seafood, fresh, affordable seafood, because Troy has so many different nationalities that are germane to seafood, and I made the right decision. Eddie V's, great place. Not everyone has $150 a person to spend. We're not like Red Lobster. We're kind of right in that niche like I did the Breakfast Club. We're right in the middle there where everybody can afford us. We have a little bit of different things for everyone, but seafood has to have alcohol. You know, I don't really drink much myself, but if I go out for seafood, I want a glass of white wine to go with it. We are very responsible with all the people that we service as far as the neighborhoods and the cities are concerned. If you ask anyone in Farmington Hills, which is where I raised my children, I did everything for the schools. I worked with doing the Thanksgiving dinners for the elderly residents and so on, but children are my thing. I love doing things with the schools and charity work and things like that, especially if it pertains to food. And children in the winter, Christmas, I've worked with the Farmington Hills Friends and Family in Need. We did our own little charity thing where we bought gifts for everybody. We got the city council in on it, and bought so many gifts we had to bring in more families. But I love to be a part of the community. Troy's a great town. My mom lives right down the street, so I work so many hours. I spend a lot more time here than at home. But that's about it. I'm experienced. I love my industry. I love Troy. I love the diversity. It's wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. White. Next up is Marius Luga.
Good evening. My name is Marius Luga. I know Ziggy from Paradise Biryani for like 20 years. We used to work together, and his dream was like, I'm gonna open an Indian restaurant, and it looks like the dream come true. And I was born in Romania. And every time we go to his restaurant, I was like, oh, can we get a beer? He said, we don't have a license, so he's a very good guy. And I would really appreciate if you guys can do something to get him a license. He's very honest, and I love the food. And another thing, I'm a different, like we are Romanians, and they are Indians, different cultures. And maybe if you guys grant this one, we can bring more customer to him, bring him a little bit higher, just for fun and whatever. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Next up is Kelly Allen.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I am Kelly Allen. I'm here tonight on behalf of 2 applicants for your quota licenses, both of which were recommended by your Liquor Advisory Committee, your LAC, and they are the Hyatt Place, and that is Ron, where are you guys? Ron Wilson, Dennis Bostic, his brother, also Ron Bostic, and Eric Ramin, and then the VIN 809, that is Marty Nolenberg and JD West and their wives. I want to talk about process tonight. We only have 3 minutes. This whole book went into your LAC. We went over all of this. Your ordinance says, your chapter 101-14, Liquor Advisory Committee. It is the responsibility of the City of Troy Liquor Advisory Committee to make a recommendation to City Council as to whether it should approve a liquor license or related permit. In making its recommendation, the Liquor Advisory shall follow the rules, guidelines, and procedures set forth in your ordinance, or in the ordinance. So you convened your Liquor Advisory Committee. There were 10 applicants. Sadly, there are only 5 licenses available. In 2020, the state of Michigan allocated 5 new licenses to the city of Troy. I started calling the day the census was certified, looking, for licenses for these clients and others. And your city worked really hard. Your city manager's office, your city attorney, your police department, everyone involved in putting together a brand new application form that was not heretofore seen before these new quotas were issued. So we finally got the application form in late 2022, maybe December. We filled out an application form like this. We filed it, my 2 clients did, in February of 2024. The Liquor Advisory Committee did not convene because there was some feeling that you had to sort of revise or shorten down your application process. So you gave us a short form to do, which was given to all of the applicants, which we all filled out. And then there were 2 meetings. One was sort of a committee where we talked about, meeting where we talked what was going to happen, and then one was where all 10 of these applicants and their people got to come in and say what they were about. And I have to say that the people that sit on this Liquor Advisory Committee are volunteers. They're giving up their time, their effort, and they sat for hours and listened to this stuff. And I commend them, not just because my clients got 2 of the recommendations, but they listened. And they listened to what we had to say, which was these are the types of investments and types of things that deserve quota licenses in a city. I do this all over the state of Michigan. I have heard cities say, wow, we've given tax breaks for less than that. For the numbers of people that they're going to employ, for the amount of investment that they're putting in the city, it's all very important. And they match on the numbers all of your criteria, and they exceed it. 24 criteria. So we're asking that you follow the recommendation tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Allen. Next up is Marty Nolenberg.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. My name is Marty Nolenberg, owner of VIN 809, here regarding the quota license issue. Obviously, we are thrilled that we are recommended by the Liquor Advisory Committee. We are in a great location. We're excited about the opportunity to partner with the hotel. I do echo what Kelly just said and hope that you will accept the recommendation that they made. I know that you received the packet. I don't want to be repetitive, but I did want to highlight 3 things. 1, our concept. 2, the economic impact to Troy. And 3, our roots in the community. So our concept is a wine theme. There's nothing like it. We want to pair wine with foods. We're going to offer craft cocktails. Our menu is very diverse. It will fit with the community. Different palates, obviously, in this community. We will serve American, Italian, Mediterranean, Latin, global infusion. We will serve fresh, high-quality ingredients and scratch-made. Some farm-to-table items will be included as well. Price point will be reasonable. It will seat 216 people inside, 103 seats outside with a rooftop patio. And since we're servicing the hotel banquet facility, there's another 112 seats that we will be serving as well. 2 patios, 1 upstairs, 1 downstairs, 2 bars, 1 upstairs, 1 downstairs. The economic impact to Troy, very significant. We are making a $2.5 million financial investment with mostly local tradespeople, including a Troy-based general contractor. We will have over 90 employees. Over $2 million in payroll is expected, hopefully most of them local. Approximately $60,000 in real estate taxes and $15,000 in personal property taxes will be derived. Deep roots in the community. I have worked in Troy for over 30 years. I was first as an insurance agency owner, and now as the owner of Sedona Tap House. We've been successful, despite the fact that we're competing with all the corporate restaurants on Big Beaver, Restaurant Row, right? We've been able to adapt to the changes in the community. Diversity, obviously, community is changing. COVID, road construction, twice actually. We've given back to the community through our Monday Dine Out for Charity and gift card requests. In fact, we've contributed over $100,000 to local charities. So we believe in giving back to the local community. Also, my service in public service for over 12 years. I'm also a current member of the DDA. We are local operators. So in conclusion, I just want to say that we are local operators. We know the community. We care about the community. We've had success with existing restaurant down the street, which we will still operate. And we're in it for the long run. And given the competitive nature of the minimum wage spike increase and sick pay, the challenging environment, but we're going to be successful. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nolenberg. Next up is Lorientu Oenis. Probably said that wrong. I apologize if I did.
Good evening. I'm here to support Paradise Biryani Restaurant to getting their liquor license. So the thing is, I did travel a lot. I visited like over 30 countries. I don't remember a restaurant without a liquor. You know, how come you get into the restaurant and ask for a shot before dinner and a glass of wine and it won't be served because they do not have that, you know? It sounds, I used to run, I'm originally from Romania. I know this guy for like over 20 years since I moved in the country. So I did run a restaurant business back home, and the liquor license, it wasn't an issue. I mean, it comes as a package. When you open that business, you don't need a license actually. You know, I was surprised here when I come here, and I'm a citizen, and I'm proud to say that, but this sounds like so off to me. You know, who wants to drink like too much, they can do it. You know what I mean? It's not an issue not offering license to the restaurants because the people are using too much alcohol. That's my point. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next up is Vlad Buzgan.
Good evening. Yeah, I'm also here to support the Paradise Biryani. I like that restaurant a lot. Being a real estate agent, I host some events there, and always we are welcome there. And yeah, I would like to support him, you know. What can I say? Please give him the license. Have a blessed night.
Thank you. Next up is Todor Susiu.
Good evening, everyone. I'm also here to support my friend Ziggy. If you can do this favor to all of the Romanian community, we eat there a lot. We like to drink a small shot before we start eating, so I don't know, this might not be a good reason, but we please you offer him a license. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I realize I skipped Ron Wilson earlier. I thought he was signed up down below as well. So, Mr. Wilson.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, council members. Thank you. For the last couple decades, I've been working with the Community Development Director in all things hotels. They've asked me to come and speak to the Planning Commission about the status of the hotel development in the city of Troy, which I've done, and about 5-6 years ago, when I spoke to the Planning Commission, what they asked me to talk about was the status of hotel development in the city of Troy. Do we have too many hotels? Are there too many hotels coming in? My response was the hotels that were in the pipeline and approved were limited service, focused service on the more economy end, and those would be fine, and probably you don't need any more. Then at the conclusion of that meeting, I said, if you could get a Hyatt Place hotel, do it. And then a year or two later, Dennis Bostic approached me about doing a hotel at the site in question. And I said, gosh, you know what you should do there is a Hyatt Place hotel. And so the Planning Commission approved that. Construction drawings were done. And the Hyatt Place fits in somewhere between the limited service and focus service hotels like a Hilton Garden Inn, a Hampton Inn, a Fairfield Inn, Home 2 Suites, those type of things. And then the luxurious properties, the convention hotels like the Marriott, that sort of thing. So the Hyatt bumps up against that luxurious type market of that. Nate Forbes was before this council last meeting, and he talked about for their development that a full-service luxury lifestyle branded hotel was really tough to do. And I would agree with that because of just the cost to do that. The Hyatt Place is in a similar position where not only the restaurant, but the hotel, without a liquor license, these developments don't work. You just don't do them without a liquor license. The hotel will have over 50,000 guests a year come into it from out of town that will be supporting other local businesses in the area. Payroll will be over $2 million a year in the hotel. This is a hotel that will be here for generations. It will be held to the Hyatt standards. My company will help develop the hotel and will operate the hotel. We've been here in Troy for several decades. And the important thing here is that the hotel is ready to go. Construction drawings are done. We got sidelined by March 23rd of 2020 of COVID, and it got set back. So I ask you to continue to approve the restaurant and the hotel liquor license for this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. That concludes those that have signed up for all public comment this evening. Now is an opportunity for council and city administration to respond or reply. I would ask for the liquor license situation if we could just hold off until we get to I-4. I think that makes the most sense. Okay. Is that fair, everyone? Does anybody have any response to any of the other speakers not related to liquor licenses? All right. We move on to regular, there's no postponed items, so we move on to regular business. I-1 is board and committee appointments. I have no mayoral appointments this evening. I'll turn it over to Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick for a city council appointment.
Thank you, Mayor. Give me 1 second to. Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to move I-1B, City Council appointment. Resolved that the Troy City Council hereby confirms the appointment of the following person to serve on the boards and committees as indicated to the Parks and Recreation Board for the term expiring 7/31/2025, Mr. Matt Jansen as the Troy School Board of Education representative.
Support.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick, supported by Councilmember Brooks, that we approve the resolution as read into the record, confirming the appointment of Mr. Matt Jansen as the Troy School Board of Education representative for the Parks and Recreation Board. Any discussion? Vote, Ms. Dixon.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Chamberlain-Crainga?
Yes.
Councilmember Chanda?
Yes.
Councilmember Gunn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes, motion carries. That concludes city council appointments this evening. We move on to I-2, board and committee nominations. I do have mayoral nominations this evening. I'd like to move the nominations, really the renominations of Lawrence Kiesling, Alan Kirillick, and Tara Thompson-Cusack to the Downtown Development Authority for the terms expiring September 30th, 2028.
Support.
Moved by the chair, supported by Councilmember Chamberlain-Crainga, that we approve the nominations of Lawrence Kiesling, Alan Kirillick, and Tara Thompson-Cusack to the Downtown Development Authority for the terms expiring September 30th, 2028, as printed in the agenda packet and read into the record. Any discussion? The vote, Ms. Dixon.
Councilmember Chamberlain-Crainga?
Yes.
Councilmember Chanda?
Yes.
Councilmember Gunn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Motion carries. That concludes mayoral nominations this evening. I'll turn it back over to Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick for city council nominations.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move resolved that Troy City Council hereby forwards the following nominated persons to serve on the boards and committees as indicated to the next regular city council meeting for action. Nominated to the Animal Control Appeal Board, for the term expiring 9/30/2027, Al Petrolis, and to the Parks and Recreation Board for the term expiring 9/30/2027, Michael Brady.
Support.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick, supported by Councilmember Chamberlain Craig, that we approve the nomination of Al Petrulis to the Animal Control Appeal Board for the term expiring September 30th, 2027, and to the Parks and Recreation Board, Michael Brady, also for the term expiring September 30th, 2027. Any discussion? Vote, Ms. Dixon.
Councilmember Chanda?
Yes.
Councilmember Gunn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Chamberlain Craig?
Yes.
Motion carries. That concludes City Council nominations this evening. Next up is I3, a request for closed session. Be it resolved that Troy City Council shall meet in closed session as permitted by MCL 15.268E, pending litigation, City of Troy versus KJ Property et al., as printed in the agenda packet.
Support.
Moved by the chair, supported by Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick, that we approve I3, request for closed session, as printed in the agenda packet. Any discussion? Vote, Ms. Dixon.
Councilmember Gunn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Chamberlain Craig?
Yes.
Councilmember Chanda?
Yes.
Motion carries. At the conclusion of the public agenda here, we will recess and pick up in closed session in the council boardroom, where is it expected that we will eventually adjourn. Next up is I4, Class C quota liquor licenses, and they'll be introduced by Acting City Manager Bob Bruner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We've already heard a lot about liquor licenses tonight, so let me just introduce this by making 3 points. One is, we've heard about the Liquor Advisory Committee, which, according to the city's website, was established in 1956. But more relevantly, or more recently, we have City Code Chapter 101, which was enacted in 2008. And that makes the Liquor Advisory Committee responsible for recommending approval of liquor licenses, making recommendations to the City Council. And in doing so, she'll follow the rules, guidelines, and procedures set forth in the ordinance. Chapter 101 includes criteria, 24 factors, lettered A through X. More recently, the city last granted a quota license in 2019 to an establishment that did not open, so that one is still available. And then based on the 2020 census, there was 4 additional quota licenses made it available to the city based on population. So that's how we get to the 5 that are available now. So back in July, 10 applications were received and reviewed by the Liquor Advisory Committee on August 5th. Those meeting minutes include the name and addresses of all 10 applicants, as does the City Council agenda item from the last meeting on August 26th, which had the committee's recommendation. So that memo dated August 19th, 2024 also includes the names and addresses of all applicants. So that brings us to tonight. You have in the agenda packet suggested resolutions to really do 2 things for each of the 5 potential licenses. One is to grant local approval, and the second part is to approve an agreement with each one of the applicants. So tonight, it's really up to the council to decide if you can approve 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 applicants. You can, that could include 1 or more of the applicants recommended by the Liquor Advisory Committee, or 1 or more of the other applicants. And with that, I'll ask if I can answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Bruner. I have a procedural question first before we go to any further questions. It's my understanding, I'll ask City Clerk, I think you're the rules expert here. It's my understanding that some council members may have some questions for some of the applicants who are here this evening. Is it a rule waiver that we need to give consensus to allow that, or what would be the appropriate method to have that happen?
I believe a rule waiver would probably be best, just because the public comment portion's finished already. But you could probably do 1 for the entire item and then feel free as needed for any of the applicant, that are on the agenda.
Okay, so is that, I need to make a motion to waive the rules to allow for
Probably additional public comment.
additional public
from-
comment in response to any questions asked by members of council for I-4?
Yep.
I make that motion.
Support.
Moved by the chair, supported by Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick, that we approve the rule waiver motion I just stated into the record to allow for additional public comment from applicants in response to any questions by members of City Council. Any discussion? Vote, Ms. Dixon.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Chamberlain Krenga?
Yes.
Councilmember Chanda?
Yes.
Councilmember Gunn?
Yes. All right, motion carries. So I probably just scared some of the applicants in the room, but if we do have any questions, please be prepared to answer them if you're able to. That said, any questions for Mr. Bruner in response to his presentation? City Attorney Bloom, I believe Lynn Georgie is back here also from the police department who worked on this. Questions from council, or we can certainly jump into questions for anyone. Councilmember Gunn.
What would be the procedure if we say we wanted pick one that was not approved by the committee?
City Attorney Bloom.
I found this on the web for what is one pick one that was not approved.
Never mind.
By the way,
Yeah.
if you have
That really is. I think we needed that, Mark. I don't know. City Attorney Bloom, well, you can go ahead and answer. I have an answer also, but go ahead.
So the resolutions are actually produced for you all individually. So again, the recommendations, the resolutions that are included within the council agenda packet reflects that, the establishments that were recommended by our Liquor Advisory Board. But if you have another entity that you would like to replace a certain resolution with, then you can do that. You basically would just need to include the name of them and the address, and all of that information we do have handy, and it is on the yellow sheet on page 2.
I was going to add, City Attorney Bloom, if I could. The difficulty for us, obviously, is we don't do discussion before there's a pending resolution. So I had intended to move the resolution packet as presented so that it's on the table for discussion, understanding that there very likely could be amendments after the discussion that we have. So that was my proposed solution to that anticipated question. Doesn't have to go that way, but that's what I was thinking would work best procedurally, just so we're able to have a discussion that doesn't prohibit anybody from doing something differently. So. Additional questions? Councilmember Chamberlain-Crango.
Thank you, Mayor. It's a question for Acting City Manager Bruner or City Attorney Bloom. So just to ensure, I have a criteria in front of me, and say, for example, E and F, I presume that those are things that have been vetted in advance related to any crimes, or in terms of, were those vetted in terms of the folks who are in front of us, that part has been reviewed?
Yeah, the police department does the background investigations.
Okay, excellent, thank you.
Additional questions for City Administration? Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick.
5 liquor licenses are completely inadequate for our situation. We are a dining community, for sure. And what we heard in the comments coming from these fine establishments, a potential, a planned for development that is critical on Big Beaver. We have the economic piece, the diversity piece at tension. And we as a council are looking at what was recommended by this commission and saying, are we meeting all of these needs? And frankly, 5 isn't going to help us make everybody happy. So I sort of accept that, except I also feel the responsibility to ask, do we have options to increase the number of liquor license establishments in the city beyond the quota licenses that came our way? And City Attorney Bloom gave us in writing the response of what the Michigan statute has. And near the end, at the end of this, she indicates to us, we have not explored the feasibility of any application for the on-premises licenses that do not count against the quota limitations, development district, special act, redevelopment area. City Attorney, can you talk to me like I'm in kindergarten, and what does that mean, and are there options for us to try to expand somehow and achieve more through this process?
I can reiterate what I had indicated in the supplemental information. There are additional licenses that could potentially be available to applicants. Again, I don't know if it's a viable option or not, but I do know that there is a redevelopment area, there's a development district license, and there is also a resort license. Those are in addition to the quota licenses. Whether or not the applicants would be eligible for those, I don't know, because there are requirements as far as the investment. The development district would require the restaurants to be in our DDA, essentially. There are also there's generally a $20,000 initial license enhancement fee for all of these licenses. There's a minimum seating requirement, an investment minimum, and hours and days that the establishments have to open.
Yeah, follow up to that, you're okay?
I can process that.
Yeah.
Can I just follow up with that?
It's follow-up, sure, yeah.
Sure, it's a follow-up. So I thought, if I remember correctly, that the Hyatt is within the opportunity zone that was in Troy. Is that true? And would that count as a redevelopment area? I mean, I can't remember if that was true.
Upon information and belief, two of the applicants are in the DDA district. I can verify that.
But we're not sure if they're in the opportunity zone district. I just wondered if that qualifies as redevelopment. That was all, because the opportunity zone that existed in Troy was all about redevelopment. So just, it's a question.
It's very possible. I did not look to that. I did look to to verify that two of the applicants were in the DDA.
Councilmember Brooks?
Thank you, Mayor. Quick question. There was, I believe, Kazuko Sushi, who said they've been waiting 7 years for a liquor license. Is it possible to know, out of these businesses, how long maybe they have been waiting for their liquor license?
I can tell you that question was asked at the Liquor Advisory Board. I can also tell you that the quota licenses were not available until 2022 at the earliest. That was when we were notified. So it is possible that they were looking for a license for over 7 years. It's very possible that when Uncle Julio's had asked for it, that they had asked for it at the same time. I don't have that information in front of me. Perhaps Ms. Georgie would have that information.
At this moment, I don't know.
Sorry. I think she's saying at this moment she doesn't have that information, so you don't need to walk up. Thank you.
That's fine.
Councilmember Chanda?
Yeah, one quick question is, I see two of the businesses very close to each other, and I believe they're related somehow, the Hyatt Palace and the Wynn 809. Are they connected to each other? Are they essentially, is there an internal connection, or you have to go outside to access one of the places?
Is that a question for me, or is that for
I
one of the
don't know who
applicants?
is asking.
I think either maybe Ms. Allen or Mr. Nolan. My question kind of goes with that. If Marty's Restaurant is serving the banquet at the Hyatt Place, the question is, why can't they share it? Why do you need two licenses? If you could speak to, or if there's any way to work around that you're aware of.
Mr. Mayor, thanks. Unfortunately, they're different ownership groups. Okay. So the liquor code requires that the restaurant have one license and the hotel have one. Certainly, they're going to be working together. And they are going to be doing some back and forth. Marty's going to do some catering for the hotel and vice versa. But unless they are true partners and owned by the same group of people, they cannot share a license under state law.
Just to add further, yes, there's 2 buildings. Hotel is 6 stories high, if I'm not mistaken. The restaurant is 2 stories. They're adjacent. They each have separate entrances. They are connected on the 2nd floor, which allows us to, our restaurant will occupy the 1st floor and half of the 2nd floor. And then the other half of the 2nd floor is the hotel banquet space, and we would be servicing that banquet space. And so additionally, any beverage purchased from the restaurant cannot pass through the hotel and vice versa. It has to be separate. We would love to be able to have somebody from the hotel come over to our restaurant, take it to the room, not allowed, illegal according to the Michigan Liquor Control Commission. So completely separate. So that's just kind of a little background, on the layout of the space.
Thank you. Another I think it's a related question. I don't know goes to whom, but I know we discussed it in the last meeting. These are like quota licenses that are free, but is there a way to buy a liquor license, for example, from the state? Is that, and I don't know exactly how much that is, but my understanding is that you can actually go and buy a license. It's not going to be free, but it is going to be a significant amount of money, but it is possible. Is that correct, or is that?
If you're comfortable answering that.
Yes, you can buy a liquor license. In Oakland County, they're transferable. City Attorney also talked about a resort license, which would be a new resort license. Also talked about a redevelopment license. I should point out to you that none of those licenses are available until these quotas are gone. I've already down this road already. So even though they're really high, like the new resort license is a $1.5 million investment. But to answer your question, yes, you can find one in Oakland County to buy, and the purchase price is about $150,000, maybe more, depending on commissions, depending on the market. It is whatever the market will bear. I can't find them, and this is all I do. So it's been really hard to find them lately, but yes, they are available.
Thank you.
Councilmember Gunn.
So this is very interesting for me because I have experience in this industry. I've had several restaurants, and I've been involved in the application for liquor licenses. And when I considered this, my objective was always to give back to the community as whatever way I could. And for me, what's really important is to, we look at different real estate developments and how does the city benefit? Well, I think in the same case with these liquor licenses, yes, it'd be nice to go in and any one of these 10 and go and have a nice drink. But what does the business do with that license or before they had the license? Have they given back to the community? Have they been involved in the community? And for me, that's going to be my biggest consideration because I think we all benefit if you have increased revenue and you're giving already and you give back more. So for me, that's what I'm going to be considering when we consider these 5.
Additional questions? Councilmember Chamberlain-Crenga.
Thank you, Mayor. As I was looking at the criteria, there's one that is P, compatibility of the proposed business with surrounding uses. And this may be a question for Ms. Georgie. So as I looked at a couple of the examples, at least 2 are in plazas of big box stores. One is around Walmart, one is around Target. And I just kind of out of due diligence, health, safety, welfare, need to ask this question is, and I don't know if in those complexes you have other restaurants that do offer liquor, like there's the Grand Tavern around Target. I don't know if they offer liquor. But if you were, for example, if there is liquor at a restaurant in the Target complex, there's one around the Walmart complex, have there ever been, just wondering, like, could there be altercations if people drink too much and they go into Walmart? Walmart and Target, they're very heavily populated stores. I'm there on Saturdays and they are busy. And I just wondered, has the police department ever had issues in like a Walmart or Target with any fights or issues around if anyone's been using too much alcohol? And maybe not, but I just need to ask out of kind of due diligence.
Sure, Council, Mayor.
Can hear you.
I understand your question as far as proximity of different establishments to each other, and I would agree with that. There's one applicant on this list that's in the area near the Walmart where there is a microbrewery that's running, but I really cannot think of any serious issue that we're having revolving liquor consumption. Anything that would be like that would really have come through me also working with Michigan Liquor Control. So I do think, especially in the last several years, that we would probably be aware of that. So I don't think that that's really a consideration. If that helps. Okay, thank you.
Additional questions? Any more questions for applicants that anybody had? Okay. Yeah, she has something. Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick?
The business model of the Hyatt and the slightly more upscale version, does that require a liquor license? Is that the business practice expectation that in order to do, and I'm not sure who's best to answer this question, to do that successfully? I think you spoke to it, and I apologize if it's long already. Is that key to that business model for that?
Absolutely. It's a requirement of the brand. So you can't do a Hyatt Place without the liquor license. And again, the Hyatt Place positions itself towards the higher end of the spectrum, towards the luxury hotel, but not a luxury hotel like Mr. Forbes was talking about that is very difficult to pull off in this marketplace because what we call average daily rates, the amount you can charge, you can't get the return on investment to do that because the margins are so thin. That's why every dollar counts in these type of developments, whether it's 809 Venn or the Hyatt Place. But that is a brand requirement that you have to have that. So and as I said previously, these two developments don't work without the liquor licenses.
So the
Go ahead, please.
the restaurant piece, then the name of it, it's based on serving. It's an alcohol place. It's like opening a brewery without a liquor license. It
Correct.
sounds like, or trying to.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for helping me just process what's coming at us.
I do have a follow-up question for Ms. Allen, if you will. I think you're the one to answer it. You mentioned that the additional licenses that Ms. Bloom kind of talked about were not even an option until all the quota licenses were exhausted.
That is correct.
Can you weigh in at all at likelihood of success on any of those other type of, or whether or not the project would the hotel project, for example, would qualify for the development license or the resort license, separate and aside from the quota?
Yeah. If all of your quota licenses are gone, it's the new resort license is, I call it the Liquor Commission's toy, because it's not something that is guaranteed. It is something that you have to work really hard for and have a lot of connections to get and demonstrate a big investment. So that is less likely, but possible. And a license in the DDA area is also likely and more possible than the other. However, those DDA licenses from today will take a year to get. That's because of the way the staffing works in Lansing. Unfortunately, there is one human being that does that, and we have a whole bunch of front work to do on that. So it's costly from a legal perspective and a time perspective. And as Ron indicated, these guys were shovel ready, and they want to break ground in the spring. And I don't think we could get it done by then. We could try.
And will Hyatt Place not break ground without having the liquor license granted?
That's a good question. I mean, that's a business question for them.
Are they going to find a liquor license at some point in some way? It's a matter of time and money. This is certainly not the end of the road, but as I said, and I'm going off topic here, these are the kinds of developments that deserve this kind of license. So, yeah, these other people have been here for a while, but also, and they're great people, they're great restaurants, but their concept doesn't require this kind of investment in this kind of license. So it's just a question of, can we get it done in time, and how much can the budget already bear?
Thank you.
Okay.
Any additional questions? Councilmember Brooks.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to know how long some of the businesses have been established in our city. I know Paradise had mentioned 8 years, but I'm curious as to know some of the other businesses, how long they have been established in our city.
I've been here since 2015 for Renee's Gourmet Pizzeria.
So, couldn't hear. Renee's Gourmet's been here since 2015. I know Saltwater's new, coming after the Breakfast Club that was there for 4 years. 4 years. Yep. Ernie sounds like they're over on the east side right now, but they're.
We've been in Detroit for 8 years.
But they've been doing the satellite here at 8 years. Kazuko?
7 years.
7 years. And the Hyatt and the Vin would be new.
They're under construction.
Paradise, I think.
Paradise at 8 or 9.
8 years, yeah.
And we know that Aji Sushi, coming from Minnesota, would be brand new.
Yeah,
But he's been.
my dream is not new. I've been waiting for this opportunity.
Right. You can't be heard, but you said your dream is not new and you've been waiting for this opportunity for many years. That's okay. I just want to make sure everyone can hear and send the record. Okay. That answer your question?
Yes.
Think that
I
was
think
all
so.
of them
I think,
that are-
yeah, because one is in building stage, and Deck and Delights, I'm not sure.
For what, a year and a half?
But they didn't present at the
Yeah,
commission, so
Yeah.
they're off my list, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
So. Okay. Any other questions? All right. I really feel the way to do this, I'm going to move. We need to have some discussion here at the table. So I'm going to move I-4 Class C quota liquor licenses, all 5 as printed in the agenda packet for discussion purposes, and I'm sure that there's going to be some good discussion. So I'll make that I-4 Class C quota liquor licenses as printed in the agenda packet.
Support.
That you did. Moved by the chair, supported by Councilmember Hamilton, that we approve I-4 Class C quota liquor licenses as presented and printed in the agenda packet. Now we'll have some discussion, I'm sure. We'll go first, Councilmember Hamilton.
Sure, yeah. This is so hard because all these businesses are so exciting for our community. And it's I'm struggling with it quite a bit, like how someone's gonna be happy and someone isn't gonna be happy. I think where I'm at right now is I'm probably leaning towards supporting 4 of them. I do think I would like to go with Paradise Biryani instead of Saltwater, just for the uniqueness, for being in the city longer. It's very close between them, but I think that's where I'm at. So the other 4 that were recommended by the liquor board, I would approve, and just with that one swap.
Thank you. Councilmember Gunn?
Well, again, it's a tough one. You know, every one of these, and I know what you guys go through running a restaurant, believe me. It's a lot of hard work. I also would like to support Paradise because of how much you give back. I did do a little bit of due diligence. I'm overwhelmed by the way the restaurants run. It's pretty amazing what you guys do. I would, I'm looking at the vote from the committee, and they had supported Saltwater. The only one was 5-0.
Yeah.
So clearly, they must have been impressed by the presentation. The one that was close that I would say potentially is sushi, the Kazuko Sushi. They have a little bit less, considerably less seating. It was a 3-2 vote. I hate to say it, but I'd probably replace Paradise with that.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Chamberlain-Crango.
I'll go next. It's also kind of all over, but my initial thought was to work with the ones where there were, of course, higher vote, where there was more unanimous votes, not unanimous, but more agreement among the commission. So Saltwater, Ernie's. So the one thing I do want to say is Kazuko, I am supportive. Something I heard was it's family-owned business. It was 7 years. You've been waiting 7 years for a liquor license. I think for me, there's something about having a family-owned feel in the community, and it shows a rootedness. And I was wrestling because I love sushi, and I know the other option we had, which is near the Target complex, that's closer to me. And I thought, oh, I'd love to have sushi just kind of down the road. But recognizing you've been in the community for a long time, and you're family-owned, you're rooted in the community. I'm definitely supportive of Kazuko. I also, if you look at the criteria, the one, and I'm not sure, what to replace or where to put that, but Renee's does offer there's criteria N, diversification, uniqueness of the proposed business in the city. Well, Renee's, where do you find a whole gluten-free establishment? I have a boss who is gluten-free. I have many friends who are gluten-free for a lot of reasons not even of their own choosing. And the fact that this exists in Troy, it's been here since 2015, it's serving an important reason that I'm very much, so I feel Renee's, Kazuko, and then I love the love that we heard around Paradise. And given that Paradise Birani, also the giving back to the community, that was beautiful to hear that. So I love those three. I feel I recognize there's a development case with the Hyatt example, and so I don't want to leave that out. And if there's a way to maybe, I know you probably don't want to hear that, pick one, so I'm not, I don't want to completely leave this out. I think I just need to listen to my colleagues to figure that out. But I do want to hope that even however this might sort out, you have such prestige. Like, I look at these people, we all know you, everyone knows your names, and not that we can pull strings of Lansing, but if we know people and we can be helpful, I do want to believe that something would work out, but I don't want to leave you off the table either, because this is important that we have a Hyatt coming to our city, and it's in our DDA. I also served in the DDA for a number of years, so want to find a way to support that as well. So I'm not naming my five right now. I'm kind of a little bit all over the place, but I'm just putting it out there what I'm thinking. Love to hear from others.
Thank you.
I'll speak. This is really hard. It's a very, very difficult decision, and I also wish that we could just give liquor licenses to everybody, but obviously we only have a limited number. So I really considered the length of time the establishment has been in the community and how much they have given back to the community. Looking at the list, I don't know, I definitely want to include Paradise Barati just because they've been in the community for such an extensive period of time. And there was just a lot of overwhelming support from our community for this establishment. And they've really just demonstrated a lot of giving back to the city of Troy. So I really definitely want to support them. It's hard though to know kind of where to go from here, because obviously that would mean that somebody that was chosen would have to be kind of bumped. And I did look at the votes, and Saltwater Eatery was 5-0 vote, which that's pretty good. And Ernie's was 4-1, which is also very established in our community, which I like. And I'm also looking at kind of diversity in location, and a lot of these establishments are in different locations in the city, which I think is good. And they all offer something different, which I think is beneficial. I wonder, I guess the question for me with the Hyatt is, do they need a liquor license to break ground? Because if you're saying that it maybe takes a year potentially for getting a liquor license from the DDA, how long does it take to build a hotel? Because I would assume it would take some time to fully construct a hotel, and maybe potentially by then they might have a liquor license by the time it opens. Yes, yes.
It's a.
Oh, sorry, maybe it's not. I
We
don't
waived the
know.
rules earlier, but we're in a
Oh, I'm
discussion
sorry.
period, but I think our motion's fine.
It was for the entire.
That's right.
Okay,
Perfect.
so I'm still
Mr. Wilson,
sorting
go ahead.
through,
I just want
yeah.
to make sure.
Yeah, great question. Part of this is the financing package. No bank is going to touch to allow to move this forward without all the components in place. So it's fairly mission critical to have the liquor license in place as you then secure the financing to do the project. So yeah, the project will take over 12 months to start, but you can't start it without the financing, and you can't get the financing unless you have the liquor license in place. No bank will lend on that.
Thank you.
That's tough.
Same for the rest.
Okay.
Still going?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm still thinking. You can.
All right. Councilmember Chanda?
Yeah, I'm also, like everyone else, really torn. I mean, I wish we could give all 10 of them the liquor license. We can't. I do support, the diversity in the sense it's not just the big stores, but also the mom and pop stores that need to get the license. I mean, if everything is given to the big hotels and restaurants, you won't have any small business in Troy. So how do you do that? I don't know. Looking at the support from the community, Paradise Biryani is something I want to put in. It means somebody needs to come out. That's the hard part. I don't know. I actually want to keep the Kazuko Sushi. They've been in the community for 8 years. I think it's something I do value. I mean, how long have you been in the community? How long have you contributed to the economy of Troy and the surrounding places? I don't know who to pull out. I mean, that is the question. And but I do want to support Paradise and keep the sushi place. Now, obviously, I don't necessarily agree that the voting 5-0 versus 3-2 or 4-1 is a true reflection of the Planning Commission. It could very well be just at that point of time, they saw 3 votes already and they voted the other 2. So I don't necessarily believe that's a criteria for us to consider. Not to say, I'm saltwater, I'm a big seafood lover myself, and I do want to keep them also. But I find it, 3-2 versus 5-0, I'm not sure if that's a criteria that we should use. In my mind, that does not necessarily reflect the strength of an application. The applications are available in public place, and we have all looked at it. So, but how long have you been in the community is something that I am using for my decision. Right now, I'm open to who to pull. I mean, that is the hardest question. But I do want to support Paradise Biryani. Based on them being in here for 8 years, overwhelming support we received dozens of emails, and so many of you showed up to speak from different segments of our community. So that's kind of where I am. It's not a conclusive statement. You need a modification, we need an amendment to understand who to pull. But that's where I am right now. So.
All right, seeking information, that's good. Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick?
Our Indian community is, rightfully speaking up, and I also look at Renee's Gourmet Pizza being here since 2015 and delivering a unique product that is so critical for so many people. Kazuko Sushi, I've seen them giving back to the community, and had a chance to enjoy that at a couple of events. The truth is, the big guys over here with the big Hyatt name and the restaurant name have been part of this community for, I don't know how many years between the two of you. It's a long time with families here, living here, working here. And I don't want it lost that they have been a very critical fabric. We have our library fan club here tonight. I can remember Mr. Bostic donating a conference room to a motley crew of activists, including one current mayor pro tem who was a wily coyote out there trying to fight for the library back in the day. And you gave us space and were part of our fabric of working to help us. So the give back to the community, you know, I hear you, you're a mom, Farmington Hills, you had great recommendations. That's a common denominator. Ernie's, I'm from that side of town. My parents live not far from, and I love having you here. So we're pretty caring council, every single one of us, you can tell. We're gonna make some people unhappy, which is the worst part of this job, is that you cannot, most times, make everyone involved happy. You have to make the best decision for what's gonna serve the community. That there is, you know, our boards and committees give recommendations, and there are times, there's a reason it comes to us for a final check. We represent our residents. We have another look that we give it. And, you know, we're giving this really great scrutiny because these licenses matter. The Liquor Advisory Board, Ms. Georgie from our police department, all the vetting, the dialogue, I mean, our conversation tonight is nothing in comparison to the conversation that would have gone on that night. Essentially, just, you know, we're in football season, go Lions, go green. It's as if we took a moment, like there's a flag on the play where we're hitting caution of, is this decision right? And, you know, upon further review, for me, the call of the commission stands because I am not hearing a seriously compelling reason to overturn their deliberation from the table. That's not to say I might not still. And if it comes at me, I am keeping an open mind. I wanted to find an extra license here tonight. I wanted to find a reason for a couple of the restaurants that didn't make it, frankly. The economic impact of this decision matters. What we are doing on Big Beaver Corridor and, you know, consistent with our master plan is very critical in our decision making. And we have two long-time community members that have invested greatly, give back greatly, who are making a significant, profound investment to enhance that area that I've been really looking forward to. I'm having a hard time being an individual, and I hope the other restaurant owners can put yourself in my shoes. We were to say, oh, you guys can go figure this out and find some sort of DDA or magical thing from Lansing. Go figure it out, you'll get it done, and you'll get your business case off the ground. And it sets them back a year, and this decision is responsible for maybe that business case falling apart. I'm having a hard time taking that kind of basically a business risk for the city. The votes on Saltwater and Ernie's, they're pretty compelling from our commission, and I want to respect that. Kazuka Sushi has 34 seats. We could look at numbers and be very, frankly, black and white brass tacks and say, well, Paradise is saying 50 to 60 seats. Renee's 50 to 60 seats. All three of these establishments offer diversity to our community that we would value. Am I able to come up with a solid business case to overturn what the commission recommended? I'm having a hard time doing that. If my colleagues can, if they want to make that argument, I'm open to it. I just think, as I said, there's a flag on the play. Upon further review, I think the call should stand. I think that is the most right thing that we could do tonight as a body. There's not a perfect answer. We're not going to find it. And one of our bodies deliberated at great length and came to these conclusions. I'm not finding a reason to overturn it.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick. Started out really clear. I was tallying marks. People were like, oh, this is where people are thinking. It got progressively more, I need to hear from my colleagues. As I checked, 5 members said, well, Paradise should have a liquor license, right? If that could say something. I want to speak a little bit about my perspective on how I view these liquor licenses, and my perspective in that I've been pushing city management prior to acting city manager Bruner to come up with the updated process. It sat for a year in our former city manager's office before we got this process along. So I know you've all been waiting, or most of you have been waiting a long time, and it was unnecessary, frankly, in the end. Lesson learned in one respect, I guess. But there's an additional component to that I think is really important for, Ms. Allen talked about process, and she alluded to it, but very kindly. She didn't actually dig in where I think she could have. And Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick talked a little bit about the business reputation of our city and the case that needs to be made for us to continue to be viable from an economic development standpoint. I will say first and foremost, from my perspective, I view these quota licenses as an economic development tool. And we have very limited tools in the city of Troy for economic development. There's some TIF plans, that's really it, actually. Our economic development plan is, look how wonderful Troy is, you want to do business here, and that works most of the time. But these quota licenses are primarily, despite all of the different considerations, the most compelling for me is economic development. And I know it's hard maybe for some in this room to think, well, why would you give 2 quota licenses to 2 businesses that haven't even broken ground yet? I just want to say, having a Hyatt Place in our DDA on Big Beaver, having a new successful, which I know will be successful, restaurant in front of it, that's going to do a huge amount of good for our city. You heard a little bit about the numbers, but I've sat through the DDA meetings where those projects were discussed. I've watched planning commission meetings. I've spoken with many people involved in the projects. There is no denying Mr. Bostic's and Mr. Nolenberg's history in this city. Mostly good, sometimes, I say that, both of you know there are people who question some of the things you've done and said over the years, but that shouldn't weigh into this. The reality is the Bostic family has contributed more to this city than probably any other family in the city's history. Mr. Nolenberg, Sedona Tap House is arguably the most successful privately owned restaurant our city has right now, from attracting people into the community. I have no doubt that he and Mr. West and their wives, as was said, would not be very successful in what they're doing moving forward as well. To me, again, it's easy to say, oh, we want to add Paradise or we want to add Renee's, awesome restaurants. I just want to make the case that we should not be considering removing Hyatt Hotel or VIN 809. I think that's a mistake for our city, and it would be a mistake for the image from a business standpoint of what our city does. It obviously gets, excuse me, tricky as we move on down the list. Again, Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick, do we look at numbers of seats? Maybe, if we're trying to narrow things down, is that where we have to come to? That hurts the smaller restaurants. That hurts the sushi restaurant. It's the smallest, even though there's possible expansion. I struggle a little bit. I love Paradise Biryani. I love what I've heard from the ownership, and I know there's 5 members up here who have stated support for it. I don't understand the difference it's going to make in your business model to have a quota license now after 8 years. You've been successful for 8 years, and you've helped the community for 8 years, which I think is one of the most important things a community member can do. But your business isn't going to be made or broken by this quota license. I also understand that maybe you've been waiting 8 years to have a liquor license because that was always part of your plan, and you don't have $150,000 if you can find one. I get that too. But popular support from residents and from people here tonight aside, as an economic development tool, that I believe these quota licenses are, I don't see as much of a compelling case for Paradise. That said, 5 people have said they really want Paradise, but it's going to be harder when we try to remove somebody. When Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick started talking about the football analogy, I thought, oh, Ellen, please. But I get where she was going. But the end result, in a sense, is similar for me. We put a lot of trust and faith in these recommending bodies who have done all of the hard work of this for hours. They've reviewed everything in detail. We've had the opportunity to now, but they sat through all the presentations. They asked a lot of questions. They were given answers. I don't feel like I heard anything tonight or I reviewed anything over the past several weeks that makes me say, oh, they got it wrong. And I'm not comfortable necessarily doing that without some compelling reason. And I just don't have it right now. So I understand there's different opinions up here, and I may be in the minority in some of that. That's fine. But I just want to urge caution with what we do with these economic development tools and the risk it can cause to our reputation here in the city of Troy from a business standpoint, what it can also say about stability to any business, small or large in this business, if what we're doing to business members through a process that has been long. And I also am thinking, why can't we find more? What can't we do? And I recognize that we just can't. That's not on our purview. It was exciting that we got these 4 additional plus Uncle Julio's returning theirs. That's a big get for us, but we have to use them wisely, and we have to use them based on what the ordinance prescribes. And for me, I'm most comfortable, as I did earlier this evening, taking the recommendation of the body before me that vetted it thoroughly. And so I'm most comfortable sticking with the 5 that were recommended. And I'm happy to hear any further discussion, comments, or amendments. Councilmember Gunn.
I'll address that. I did look at the one that I looked at seating. To me, that was, you talk about economic development. One of the things I did see at Paradise was the opportunity that was presented to me that second floor was going to become a banquet facility if they get this license. So to me, the 50, 60 seats that they have now is what they currently have versus what they're going to expand to. That's why I considered that a little bit further.
Thank you. Councilmember Chamberlain Kranga.
So for me, I think I have a little more clarity. I appreciate all the deliberations, and I think a reminder of the role of you all as restaurant owners and of leaders in our community and recognizing also, and again, economic development is always something front and center for me. So I think the way I'll put out there my opinion, I am happy to go with all of these, including with the Hyatt restaurants, given the importance from an economic development standpoint, to break ground and for what a Hyatt means in Troy, as well as Kazuko. One thing I just, kind of what I'm wrestling with a little bit, so saltwater, it is new. I didn't get a chance to ask what happens, well, we trust, you're an experienced business owner, but what would happen if there was a change in the restaurant or the concept doesn't work? What happens to the liquor license? And I know it's too late to ask questions.
I think our staff can answer that if you.
Can someone ask?
Yeah, it would be available for, no, it would not come back. It would be their license. They would have that quota license, so they could sell it later on.
Oh, so they would sell it. Okay. So again, kind of more, a place has been established. I know it will be successful, saltwater, but if you've been around for a long time, and so that's where I would propose going with the 2 Hyatt restaurants, Kazuko, going with Renee's, because it's been around since 2015. Again, it answers number 9 on the criteria in terms of uniqueness of the proposed business. I think there is a business case. I think that, I don't know your business volume, but I do think there is something about having that as an option. And I know Ernie's plays an important role. I know right now you're based, outside of Troy, kind of your, just kind of your, I don't know if you call your headquarters and all of that. And so that is a harder one for me. Ernie's, or we've heard Paradise Biryani. And so one thing I would just put out there, I could do the 2 Hyatts, Kazuku, Renee's, and Paradise as something. So just recognizing we have a large South Asian population, and I think we'd be remiss not to respect that and put that out there. So I'm just going to put that on the table where I'm at.
Councilmember Chand, I have something.
Yeah, I'm also in that same boat. I think we have heard for so many community members from all sides of Troy, from all corners of Troy about Paradise. And as Councilmember Gunn mentioned, there is potential to expand. I do understand the economic importance of Hyatt and Wynn, and I would like to keep them in the 5. My recommendation would be to use Paradise, the Sushi place, and then the other one in the Orthodox Church. So I don't remember what the name that.
Ernie's.
Arnie's, yeah. So that would be so Paradise, Arnie's, Kazuka Sushi, and Wynn and Hyatt Place. So I understand the economic importance. It looks odd because we're giving essentially 2 licenses to the same. That was my initial misgiving, but yes, we are a business-friendly city, and I do want to respect that. I want to respect the potential of millions of dollars of investment that I think we need to keep those 2. So that's my chosen 5.
I have a thought. I'm going to make a motion to amend the motion on the table to, I believe this will pass, to only approve at this moment the Hyatt Place and Vin 809. I believe there's clear consensus and enough votes for those to pass, and we believe those are the proper thing to do. I'd like to amend my motion to take off the other 3 at the moment and approve those 2.
I support that.
Okay,
Yeah.
moved by the chair, supported by Councilmember Hamilton to amend the motion on the table for I-4 to remove all pending resolutions related to, no, I'm sorry, you know what it was. City Clerk Dixon, what do you got?
To only approve the licenses for Hyatt Place and Vin 809, but to not act on the other 3. Is that correct?
Yet, correct. And that includes the agreements, the multi-step.
Right, it would be 2 parts to each
Right.
license, yeah.
Okay, so you understand? Okay, I'm making a motion to amend it for those 2 for right now.
Support.
We already did that. Any discussion on doing that right now? All right, the vote, Ms. Dixon?
Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Chamberlain Craig.
Yes.
Councilmember Chanda.
Yes.
Councilmember Gunn.
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton.
Yes. A motion carries, but that motion was just to amend the previous.
That was only to approve the licenses for Hyatt.
Did that approve it there, or did that amend the motion?
I'm sorry, to remove the other three from consideration during this discussion, sorry.
Okay.
Yes, so that what you just voted on was to no longer discuss the other three, and we are now only discussing Hyatt and VIN 809.
Any further discussion on Hyatt or VIN 809?
Can I just say,
Councilmember Brooks.
just understanding that in order to proceed forward with even building, it sounds like this is a critical piece of the puzzle. And so for that reason, that is why I do support it. And I do recognize the economic benefit for our city, so.
Councilmember Hamilton?
What is the total investment that the two together are bringing to the city? Do we have that number? Can I get it from? That to me is yeah.
It'll be north of $50 million.
For the two together?
Right.
50 million. Okay, thank you.
Oh, yeah, parking deck, that's another 10, so 60 million.
Gotcha. Thank you. Any further discussion on those two? The vote, Ms. Dixon.
To approve those two?
To approve those two.
Currently, so right now, what you did was you had a motion that was discussing 5. You had another motion that removed 3 and only left 2 for discussion, but you don't have a motion to just approve those 2. Does that make sense?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the liquor licenses and agreements for Hyatt Hotel at
801.
It's not 801. It is 801 West Big Beaver, and VIN 809 at 809 West Big Beaver Road.
Support.
Moved by the chair, supported by Councilmember Gunn, that we approve the liquor licenses and agreements for VIN 809 and Hyatt Place Hotel. Any further discussion? The vote, Ms. Dixon.
Mayor Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Chamberlain Craig?
Yes.
Councilmember Chanda?
Yes.
Councilmember Gunn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries for those. Okay, so now I put myself in a procedural pickle because that was I-4. How do we continue to discuss the other ones?
Oh, you had some amendments, so your amendment, right, you're still on I-4.
Okay, still good on I-4, that's fine. All right, so I've heard, well.
Could you vote individually on all these?
We sure can. Does somebody want to move anything?
That's maybe what I would do. I mean, we individually.
Problem
pick
is, we're gonna, I'll make a motion to, essentially grant local approval of the liquor license and the agreement for Paradise Biryani at 3880 Rochester Road.
Support.
Moved by the chair, supported by Councilmember Hamilton, that we approve the liquor license and the necessary agreement for Paradise Biryani Point at 3880 Rochester Road. Further discussion? I moved it because there seems to be clear consensus that that is what the will of this body is. All right. And then the vote, Ms. Dixon.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Chamberlain Craig?
Yes.
Councilmember Chanda?
Yes.
Councilmember Gunn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes, motion carries. All right. Okay. I think it's harder from here, just being honest. Anyone like to make another motion? Or Councilmember Chamberlain Craig?
I don't think I have the address in front of me, but to make a motion to.
Right on top of your page.
Oh, it's
I
on
think
top.
right where you're
Right
at.
here, right here.
You were right there.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve Kazuko Sushi at 30 West Square Lake Road. Do we need to say anything else?
The liquor license and the subsequent agreement necessary.
Thank you, Mayor.
Support.
Moved by Councilmember Chamberlain Craig, supported by Councilmember Hamilton, that we approve the liquor license request and the subsequent agreement for Kazuko Kazoku Sushi at 30 West Square Lake Road. Any discussion? The vote, Ms. Dixon.
Councilmember Chamberlain Krenga?
Yes.
Councilmember Chanda?
Yes.
Councilmember Gunn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Motion carries.
So we have one more.
We have one left. Does anybody have a compelling argument to make on, aside from you? I bet you do. I'm certain you do. I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion to approve the liquor license request and subsequent agreement for Saltwater Eatery.
Support.
Moved by the chair, supported by Councilmember Gunn, that we approve a liquor license request and the necessary agreement for Saltwater Eatery, at 3672 Rochester Road. Discussion. Well, I'll tell you, I made it because it had a 5-0 recommendation from our Liquor Advisory Committee. I believe that a seafood restaurant in the city of Troy needs a liquor license. I don't necessarily believe that it's up to us to provide a quota license. There's other options, as you know, maybe cost prohibitive. But I guess ultimately I'm sticking with the 5-0 vote from Saltwater, from the Liquor Advisory Committee. That's where I'm at. Councilmember Chamberlain Craig.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll just share, I'm struggling a little bit with this one. I've seen that location. I've seen different businesses come and go. I'm going to be honest. We have Red Lobster. Red Lobster's struggling. I love seafood. What happens if we give this, and I know you're inexperienced in the restaurant business, but it doesn't work financially. And you have something that you get to sell. And so that's why I know it's a 5-0, and initially I was like, this makes sense. But I'm going to be honest, I'm struggling a little bit with it.
Any other discussion? Councilmember Hamilton?
Yeah, I think I'm still supporting my initial 5, which would be Ernie's for the 5th, so that's where I'm at.
I would also go with that. I mean, looking at the menu, it is really almost looks like it's made for me. I mean, I'm a big seafood lover. I really struggle to not give liquor license to a restaurant like that, but I would also go with my recommendation, giving it that to Arnie's, that I believe has been here for a long, long time. And it's also, I don't know if that numbers make sense because you probably just cater on the weekends, but it's a large number of people that cater to you. So that's, in my mind, is the economic impact. That's, so that would be my recommendation or my vote. So.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yes, I'm also struggling as well, mainly because of the length of time that the establishment has been in our community as well. I mean, Ernie's has been here much longer. Renee's Gourmet Pizza has been here much longer. And so because of that, I am struggling a little bit more with Saltwater Eatery.
Anyone else? All right, let's take a vote on Saltwater.
Councilmember Chanda?
No.
Councilmember Gunn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
No.
Councilmember Chamberlain Krenga?
No.
Motion fails. All right. Someone like to make another motion? Councilmember Hamilton.
I'll move the approval of liquor license for Ernie's at 760 West Waddles Road with the license and the agreement as printed.
Support.
Moved by Councilmember Hamilton, supported by Councilmember Chamberlain-Craig, that we approve the liquor license request and agreement for Ernie's at 760 West Waddles Road. Discussion. Councilmember Chamberlain-Craig.
Sir, I know I still, I love Renee's. I wanted to be an advocate. I think it is something unique. But I also recognize, again, it's all about discussion and consideration, is recognizing that Ernie's is based within our Greek Orthodox Church, St. Nicholas. So they've had a presence. You're embedded within our diverse community. And so I want to give space for that and want to honor that. So I'm happy to support this.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, I would also support that. I do see they are serving a lot of people. That's part of it in my mind. But they are located in a church, which is serving the community for a long, long time, and very close to my house, by the way. That's probably not the reason, but I would go with that. They have been waiting for this license for a long, long time. I think that should play a role. I mean, it's how long have you been here, and how long have you been waiting for a license? I mean, I understand that you could not formally apply for a license, but the fact that you are serving the community without a license and your business will flourish with a license, in my mind, that is important thing to consider. So I'll vote yes on this.
Councilmember Brooks?
Thank you. I would also like to support Ernie's as well. Just looking at the length of time the business has been in our community, as well as the number of seats, 650 seats. That's a lot of people serving. So I will also support Ernie's as well.
Anything else? Vote, Ms. Dixon?
Councilmember Gunn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Chamberlain-Craig?
Yes.
Councilmember Chanda?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Take a
That
recess.
concludes I-4. We got to take a 5-minute recess. See you, Marty. See you guys. Back. We're all here. All right, we're back on the record. Next up is I-5, Budget Amendment and Standard Purchasing Resolution 4, Omnia Partners Cooperative Purchasing Contract and Oakland County Extended Purchasing Program, Troy Public Library Access Control Identification Badge Readers. To be introduced by Phil Quick, our Assistant Library Director. Philip.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council members. In our continuing effort to provide for the safety and security of our staff and our public in a building that is starting to show its age, the Library Administration is requesting a budget amendment and permission to purchase 9 door badge readers through cooperative purchasing programs. This would also put the library in compliance with the City Administrative Memo on Access Management. Over the last several months, the library has been assessing our security, a task made more difficult by an overall lack of space. We've come to understand that in an emergency, either in the building or anywhere on the campus, it's crucial to know not only who's in the building, but to know where they're at in the building. We see this scenario played out every day in the press. These badge readers will help us do that and provide better overall safety. We're requesting a budget amendment in the amount not to exceed $37,068. That's the proposed cost plus contingency. And to contract with Wadsworth Solutions and Shaw Services, both regular city contractors, for parts and installation. I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Councilmember Chamberlain-Craig?
Thank you, Mayor. Is this a system that, so if we do move towards a refreshed or some sort of new building, is this some system that could be moved to that?
I would say not, although I don't know if there's anybody here to back me up. These are door specific, and the thing about the library is that there's 40 years of doors and each one is different and each one opens a little differently. So I'm not sure this would be, I think this is really a Band-Aid measure in a new building. I mean, I don't think this is something you would compromise on in terms of price or security. You would put in a new up-to-date state-of-the-art system in anything that would be built 3 or 5 years down the road.
Any other questions? Someone like to move the resolution? Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll move I-5, Budget Amendment and Standard Purchasing Resolution 4, Omnia Partners Cooperative Purchasing Contract and Oakland County Extended Purchasing Program, Troy Public Library Access Control Identification Badge Readers, as printed in the agenda packet.
Support.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick, supported by Councilmember Brooks, that we approve I-5 Budget Amendment and Standard Purchasing Resolution 4, Omnia Partners Cooperative Purchasing Contract and Oakland County Extended Purchasing Program, Troy Public Library Access Control Identification Badge Readers, as printed in the agenda packet. Any discussion? I'll just say that it's a necessary security measure that I'm happy to support. The vote, Ms. Dixon.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Chamberlain-Craig?
Yes.
Councilmember Chanda?
Yes.
Councilmember Gunn?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is I-6, Standard Purchasing Resolution 2, Low Bidder Meeting Specifications, Community Center Signage and Budget Amendment, and that'll be presented by Kurt Bovensteep, our Public Works Director.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I think we're on a 6-year rotation talking about, or 6-month rotation talking about signs, but finally we have something for your consideration tonight. When we looked at originally, we thought we could refabricate the existing community center sign and retrofit it to what the design we were looking for. And actually looking into cost, it was kind of cost prohibitive to do what we actually wanted to do. So we took a look at the KMA design that was proposed back in 2019. We reviewed the minutes of that meeting and that discussion, and we discovered that there wasn't any issue with the design of the wayfinding signs around the Civic Center campus. So we re-engaged KMA to look at that design and kind of refresh it specifically for the community center. We had a lot of discussion on what should be at the monument sign, and this is replacing the large sign at the south driveway of the community center off of Livernois. We had a lot of discussion internally with the marketing coordinator, Alyssa Firth, and Recreation Department staff of what should actually be on the sign. And we concluded that it's always going to be a community center. So the Troy Community Center, if we added anything else, there is a potential change to the facility use, we would have to go and redo this sign. Adding anything to this type of sign, it just simply can't be removed. It would have to be completely redone how it's designed. And then when we look at the wayfinding signs, we wanted to make sure that we matching the existing park signs. And I know in this memo to the council, it did say that the park signs were looking to be installed. They're being currently manufactured and installed this fall. I did want to take this opportunity to update council. They are manufactured, and they issued them to us, and we reviewed it, and they did them wrong. They had exposed fasteners, which is not something that we spec. We want to make sure our park signs are the highest of quality. So they admitted to the mistake, but they do have to be remanufactured. And unfortunately, I don't have an installation date for the park signs yet. Still hoping maybe this season before winter sets in. But the same company that designed and is manufacturing those, we are asking for approval to use that company through a change order process, since we did anticipate doing some other signs in the community. So the wayfinding signs would be very similar in character and design to our park signs throughout the community center. And in the presentation, there's that's the lighted version of the monument sign. If we can go to the next page, Steve. I probably have control, don't I? Okay, thank you. So we go just back, that's what it would look like at night, a fully illuminated with those acrylic panels. And then I threw up some examples of what the replacement wayfinding signs. Alyssa Firth, again, the marketing coordinator, thought it was important that we use the city logo, not necessarily the recreation logo. There is one sign in the that's close to that says Recreation Administration that does use the recreation logo, but all the rest of the wayfinding signs around the community center uses the city logo. And then I just threw up an example of what a wayfinding sign would look inside the campus and what it's replacing. So tonight we're asking for a resolution to approve the construction and installation of the monument sign, and then in addition to that, a resolution to do a change order to Blink, who's our current sign vendor. The city would be doing the installation of the wayfinding signs. It's something we can handle, and we're trying to save costs, recognizing that we did not budget for this. So all of that would require a budget amendment to move forward. Be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, so I have a question that's been brought to me by Bill Rhodes from the Friends of Troy Seniors, all of the members of the Senior Advisory Committee that I meet with. They're thrilled that the Senior Center has a separate sign on the back for our new Senior Center that's being worked on right now with the Oakland County funds and everything. They requested repeatedly, initially they requested to have it say the main sign on Livernois, Troy Community Center and Senior Center. I understand from the presentation tonight that that's frowned upon because if for some reason there's another senior center later, we'd have to change the whole sign, and the consensus was just to have Troy Community Center on that main sign. But the request is there if there's some way to also put senior center notification on that main Livernois street, so people know that it's not just, there's not a lot of people driving by the north side seeing that sign, right? And they want to be proud of what they have and feel welcomed and heard. And I'm just curious if there's any potential to either add a senior center sign on the Livernois side, or what potential options could be.
Sure.
Recognizing I do not want to stop this from moving forward tonight, but would like to at least be able to consider that at some other time if there's an option.
So if we do install an additional monument sign, we would have to request a variance through it would be the Zoning Board of Appeals because Building Board of Appeals because that would exceed our square footage for monument signs on Livernois. We've had to do it in the past. We did it with the Barbara and Terry and Barbara Knight Park because that's one parcel technically, the senior center, senior assisted living is on our property, so we had to request a variance to include the park sign. the board didn't have an issue granting the variance, and this parcel being big enough and then it's spread out enough, I think we would have just cause to request that variance and likely be granted it. But it would take that. So it's hard to commit tonight that we could install a sign without going through that process. I would assume it would be smaller in size. So it would probably be asking KMA to do a smaller version of this that included senior center and some directional component. So we would likely have to come back to City Council with that, and it would be in a separate bid package and a separate award. That way it didn't prevent us from moving forward with what's proposed tonight. So it's something that we could consider in the future.
Is there consensus from council to at least look at that as an option?
Yeah. I agree with that, yeah. I think we, just like Mayor said, I mean, we got a lot of requests also to have that sign there. And I still don't understand what's the problem with putting Troy Senior and Community Center. If we change in the future, we can't like just right there. It has to be rebuilt.
So I'm going to describe what Recreation, because the marketing coordinator from Recreation was really spearheading the design. I'm more of the construction installation end of this. So Alyssa said that, we tried adding fitness center, and we had renderings that included the senior center, and both of them together. And what it was is it was smaller and smaller, even though lit. You got to remember that when you're driving Livernois, you're driving 45 miles an hour, so we take size into consideration, making sure that it's legible while you're driving. So we just thought it was smaller in size. In addition to that, if the community center ever did not host those programs, then we would be looking at changing the entire sign. There would be no opportunity just to go up to that sign and take that off. It would be a whole new sign.
Because we are looking at making part of this a senior center, even though I don't know if we're officially calling that a senior center. So fitness center is there probably in any community centers. I'm not sure if we need to write that, but that's a discussion we never had at the council. So I'm wondering if that makes sense to put just senior, but I guess it might be too late in the game to talk about it.
So I do want to say this is considered a rendering. What we're about to go into are a design build almost. So this is conceptual. This provided the enough information for the sign company to bid on the package. We did build a contingency in this. If council decided to put community center or senior center with community center, whatever variation, we have renderings of that. I didn't bring them tonight, unfortunately, because I didn't know that was going to be discussed tonight. But we could request that the manufacturer include those cutouts in that acrylic to say senior center as well, and then we would determine size and everything like that. So it is an option tonight. If you choose to add senior center, we could continue to move forward on the current schedule and add senior center on this sign.
Okay, I have to say something. And Bill Rhodes is going to egg my house. I completely understand the request. I believe the branding of that facility is the Troy Community Center, and I'm a little bit concerned about adding senior center to that because it's Troy Community Center. It is also a senior center at a portion, which is why I'm supportive of an additional sign on the property so it can be seen on Livernois. But I don't know if I want to change the overall brand of Troy Community Center on the main sign. And I know for 8 years I've been mixing up sign stuff at meetings, so I apologize, but I just, Councilmember Chamberlain-Craig.
So, working communications, you also be careful to have center too many times on one sign.
Right.
So there's actually strategic logic. So I'm with the mayor. I would like to stick with this to replace where that old falling apart sign is. But I'm very open to where the circle turn is on Livernois to put in a senior center sign there, because that is where you head exactly to the senior center, and maybe a little bit, whatever it is, but so it's noticeable from Livernois. So I'm very open to that, but I actually would keep this as is.
Yeah, same.
Same.
I'm sorry, just for clarity, so I don't walk away, so I know what our direction is. When you say seniors, same theme sign as this, not the same theme as the wayfinding sign. More of this is a monument sign, the same theme as the monument sign saying senior center, but in a smaller version.
That's what I like.
Yeah.
Okay.
For Livernois.
Okay.
Councilmember Gunn?
Well, yeah, I was just going to ask, so that first rendering you showed us of the senior center one, that is placed Where?
This is internal, so this right now, this rent, or the replacement sign is at that center circle to the north entrance.
Okay.
So it's not off of Livernois, it's the internal drop-off area to the north entrance.
No, I think that makes all the sense.
That's
in the
already
world.
there, right?
That's
already in the
that's
plan.
That's the wayfinding sign, that is the wayfinding sign,
Okay.
once you get internal to give you, okay, you're going into this entrance.
Are these lit up at all?
Those are not, no.
Are they going to be externally lit up or just?
No, not lit.
Probably don't need it.
Not
yeah,
lit
'cause
at all.
that makes
There are quite a few parking lot lights. I mean, they won't be completely dark, but they won't have lights dedicated to lighting the sign. Like most recent one would be the Stein Community Park. Those new ones have landscape lightings pointed directly at them. That was not the intent with these.
Yeah, and that's fine. So for the second monument, that would be similar in self-lighting and everything.
That's what I'm hearing.
I
that
would like
it would
that,
be
yeah.
lit,
'Cause
it would
that
be
looked
acrylic,
really-
it would be the design. Yeah, so the
That
night.
looked really good at night, like
Yeah.
compared to what we have now, especially.
I would go with that.
I like
That's-
that a lot,
That could
yeah.
be.
So I think there's consensus to move forward with this resolution as is, and also giving direction to come back to us with a secondary monument sign, senior center specific for Livernois in the same style as the new monument sign. Correct?
Go with that, yeah.
Got it.
So I do have a question. I know that you're not responsible for the design, but, so this sign though, we want consistency across different buildings. So would this be kind of the template of the design that we would kind of use for other buildings across the city, or?
I think, and we had that discussion too. So if we were to move forward with doing re-signing the entire campus, we would have the same design throughout the entire campus. That was the original thought in 2019 when we looked at wayfinding internally and replacing the signs in Civic Center. You know, let's say City Hall, let's say the police department, all those things. The intent was to follow that same design theme throughout the Civic Center campus. When we say other buildings, it probably wouldn't replace a fire station sign or DPW or anything like that, but within the Civic Center campus, it would have the same design or same brand, if you will.
What other monument signs are there in the Civic Center campus?
Oh, there's quite a few. We have the police department, we have court, we have City Hall, library, then we have your directional signs that have the little bump outs, you know, where people stop and try to figure out where they're at. Huber Park kind of stands on itself because we consider that a park, and the Aquatic Center matches the Huber Park theme sign. So there could be opportunity for the Aquatic Center, and I think that's it, yeah.
I knew if we got to design, we'd be in trouble. Councilmember Chamberlain Craig?
Okay, and then also, maybe we can keep some of that open in terms of what in other, because I see this fits the community center. I'm not sure I see a sign like this in front of the police department, but we can get there. I think this works for what we want. Just a quick question with logo. So they feel, I noticed the rec sign has their rec logo. They, as you said, they feel comfortable, they're gonna stick with that for the next 5 to 10 years, so we don't have to replace that.
They're comfortable with, so the wayfinding signs are a lot easier to change than the monument sign. So this is vinyl on aluminum. So if we change our logo, City of Troy logo, or if Recreation changed their logo, we're not replacing the entire sign. We're just replacing the vinyl where the logo is, which was intentional too, because if for some reason they change locations within the community center, all the wayfinding signs can be changed easily.
All right, I'd like to move I6, Standard Purchasing Resolution 2, Low Bidder Meeting Specifications, Community Center Signage and Budget Amendment as printed in the agenda packet.
Support.
Moved by the chair, supported by Councilmember Chamberlain Kranga, that we approve I6, Standard Purchasing Resolution 2, Low Bidder Meeting Specifications, Community Center Signage and Budget Amendment as printed in the agenda packet. Further discussion? Vote, Ms. Dixon.
Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Chamberlain Krenga?
Yes.
Councilmember Chanda?
Yes.
Councilmember Gunn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Motion carries. Next up, I7, Appointment of Short-Term City Manager and External Search Update. That'll be introduced by City Attorney Lori Grigblum.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And in your packet, you have 3 proposed resolutions. The first resolution is to schedule a special meeting for October 21st at 6 p.m. The purpose of that is to facilitate the external search, which is currently underway for the city manager. So that is the first resolution. The second resolution would be to appoint Frank Nastasi as a short-term city manager, and that would be effective as of the date of a contract, but in no event would be after September 27th. And then there's a third resolution for you as well, and that is to finalize an agreement to have that done by our outside labor council. I am prepared to answer any questions that you have. I would just also indicate great appreciation for all of the work that's gone into this and for all of the individuals who did step forward to help the city in its time of need.
Thank you. Any questions for the city attorney? Councilmember Hamilton?
Just to clear, I know you provided some, to us, some terms of the contract. Was there consensus on that? I was fine with it, but.
Again, that's done by outside labor council.
Okay. But just like the general terms of it.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, then that's fine. Yep.
Any other questions? All right, I'll move I-7, appointment of short-term city manager and external search update. I'm sorry, I was contemplating reading them all, but resolution A and B and C as printed in the agenda packet.
Support.
Moved by the chair, supported by Councilmember Gunn, that we approve I-7, appointment of short-term city manager and external search update as printed in the agenda packet. The discussion. Sorry. Councilmember Hamilton.
When do we think this will be completed and go into effect? I know no later than September 27th. Do we have an estimate on when will be concluded?
I believe that they want it to happen as quickly as possible, but there does need to, for a successor police chief, there needs to be an Act 78 meeting convened. So that is one of the things in consideration. We are moving as expeditiously as possible.
Understood. Okay. Thank you.
Any other discussion? I just want to thank Mr. Bruner. This is probably uncomfortable for him to be sitting here, and I appreciate him being here and working through this, and also appreciating the work he's done up until now and will continue. And I know he and Chief Nastasi have a good relationship, and I expect things to work out very smoothly for this short-term position. Vote, Ms. Dixon.
Mayor Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Chamberlain-Craig?
Yes.
Councilmember Chanda?
Yes.
Councilmember Gunn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick?
Yes.
Motion carries. That concludes regular business this evening. Next up is the consent agenda. Does anyone have an item from the consent agenda they'd like to pull for discussion? Councilmember Hamilton.
I'd like to move all items on the consent agenda as printed in the agenda packet.
Support.
Moved by Councilmember Hamilton, supported by Councilmember Chanda, that we approve all items on the consent agenda as printed in the agenda packet. Any discussion? The vote, Ms. Dixon.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Chamberlain-Craig?
Yes.
Councilmember Chanda?
Yes.
Councilmember Gunn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hoderick?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes, motion carries. If you're here for an item on the consent agenda this evening, all of them have been approved. Next up, we have no memorandums and future council agenda items this evening. We've already handled all public comment. There's no council referrals. There are several letters of appreciation in the reports. Does anybody have any specific comments on them?
Great.
All right, council comments then. Does anyone want to talk about liquor licenses?
Still have chance to
No
talk
council
about it
comments.
now.
I don't find two quick ones, and I could probably think of 10 quick ones, but wonderful Troy Family Days this past weekend. I think we should talk about it when we get a report from the Troy Community Foundation. That'd be a better time, but great job, everybody. Register for the Frightful 5K. It's Sunday, October 27th. You can register online now. There's an early bird discount. I better start running, but I'm ready for it. Register for it. It's always a great community event. And that's it.
Yeah.
All right. Again, public comment's been handled. We do have a closed session, so we'll recess from in here and pick up in the boardroom.
Happy birthday,